We'll call meeting to order. Shelley, can do a roll call, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. District 1, Councilman Rios.
Present.
District 2, Councilman Pastor is excused. District 3, Councilman Leatham is excused. District 4, Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
District 5, Councilman Gonzalez.
Here.
District 6, Councilman Shipley is excused. Mayor Gameros.
Here.
We do have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Shelley. Chief Robbins, can you do use of the invocation, please?
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful unto thee for those blessings that was provided to us. We're grateful for this community that we live in, for those who work to ensure the safety and the functionality of our community. And we're grateful for this body here that is meant to represent the community. We ask thy blessings on this proceedings this evening, that they will be according to thy will. Please watch over and bless those in our community who may be in need. Bless them in their needs and in their time of trials. And these things we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mariano, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start with summary current events, I just want to recognize Mayor Stan Gibson in the audience, who put so much time to this community as a councilman, vice mayor, mayor. I don't know what the total years are, but welcome, and we're privileged to have you here, Mayor Stan. So summary current events, Mariano?
Just a reminder to the public, once again, we are faced with fire danger. There's at least 3 known fires in the region that they're battling. And I want to give a big shout out to the responders and their families for doing their duty. When a fireman goes out the door, he doesn't know what he's getting into. When a law enforcement officer goes out the door, he's not sure what kind of danger he may face. But they do it, and in this fire season, they do it willingly. And I really want to thank them for all of their service. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mariano. Freddie?
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing tonight.
Mike?
I just have a few things, Mayor. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the city. I had a constituent approach me, I don't know, a month ago maybe, and they had some sidewalk issues in front of their house, and the gentleman's wife actually fell, and I don't know if she broke her hip or whatever, but it was bad. So I reached out to who I needed to talk to, and man, I tell you what, within 2 weeks they were pouring concrete. So they tore out the old sidewalk and put in the new sidewalk in a matter of weeks. So I just want to shout out to everybody that was involved, so thank you. And then second one, I went to First Friday, a little warm. It didn't look like there was as much people out there, but still had a blast. So I was able to take my grandkids out there and check it out and everything. So I just want to thank everybody that was involved in that as always. So thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mike. Couple of events I just want to announce. On the 18th, they're going to have a meet and greet that we're invited to. This is to meet all the candidates from running for the Miami Town Council. So they sent out an invitation to our council and to anybody else that wants to meet. I think there's 5 individuals running with 3 openings up for election. And that's going to be at William Plaza. And then on the 22nd, they're going to have a grand opening of the Tawno Creek Bridge. And this thing's a long time coming, and they got it done, and they're going to have a ribbon cutting and grand opening, and it's going to start at 10 o'clock, and that's out by Tawno. I don't know the exact mile post, but it's out by
Barras.
Pumpkin Center. I don't know if you know where it's at. No. Yeah, so,
We just follow the traffic.
yeah, they'll have sign. And again, I want to thank our staff, I want to thank Daniel, our IT and everything. We upgraded our sound system here finally, and I got a lot of good comments from the last council meeting that people were able to hear our conversations crystal clear. So thank you again for all the work to upgrade everything. And that's all I have.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, no comments from me.
Okay.
Thank you.
First, community call to the public. Do we have anybody online? I have no cards for call to the public.
Nothing via text.
I'm not seeing anything on the email.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna go to item 3, is special consideration. And this is discussion and consideration to approve resolution number 1890, renaming Round Mountain Park to the Stanley M. Gibson Round Mountain Park, and request to waive section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule. Shelley, can you read resolution number 1890, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 1890. A resolution to rename the Round Mountain Park to the Stanley M. Gibson Round Mountain Park. Is council pleased with that reading?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll go ahead and read resolution 1890. And it states, resolution number 1890, a resolution to name the Round Mountain Park to Stanley M. Gibson Round Mountain Park. Whereas Round Mountain Park was developed in 1994, providing the Globe Miami community with an impressive walking park, providing views, geology, flora and fauna, and history to those who take an interest in these things. Whereas the development of the park took the better part of 10 years with trail building, construction of visitor center, restrooms, ramadas, and finally bringing into electricity for the visitor center and parking lot security. Whereas Stanley M. Gibson was the City of Globe's 5-term mayor, 4-term vice mayor, and 16-term council member from the City of Globe District 3. Whereas in recognition of Mr. Gibson's tireless efforts, continuous dedication, hard work, love and labor, long-term vision since the mid-1990s, without which the development of Round Mountain Park and continuous enhancements of its natural panoramic beauty and remarkable hiking trails would just not have been possible. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Globe formally changes the name Round Mountain Park to Stanley M. Gibson Round Mountain Park.
So, Mr. Mayor, if you would like to vote on that and formalize it, and then
And we have some speakers here.
then we have some speakers here, and that would be the correct path. So,
We have a motion on that? Resolution 1890.
I'd like to make a motion, Mayor, to pass resolution 1890 as read, and congratulate Mayor Stanley Gibson.
A prior discussion rule, correct?
Yeah, and vote,
Waive.
waive the discussion, prior discussion rule.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of resolution 1890. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passed.
so Mr. Mayor, Mayor Gibson's here. If you'd like to walk down, we can get a picture and allow the mayor to make a few comments from his seat.
Okay,
We have a mic lined up for him,
okay.
so.
You want to make your comments first, and then I'll come down and get a picture with you, Mayor.
And we have a little information that the mayor has for you, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, do you have any comments for us?
Sir?
Okay.
Mayor Allen, members of the city council, it's a real pleasure to be here tonight. And this is a park that, as a kid growing up, not too far from it, I roamed all over the hills there. And when I got older, I got involved in city government. and I was on the city council, and I moved out of my board, so I had to resign. But in the this is 1974. So in the meantime, they appointed me to the planning and zoning, and they made me chairman of it. And one of the things I brought up was the developing of a hiking park. So we went to the BLM, and they agreed to it at the time, which is much easier. You didn't have to do an EIS on property. And we found out, though, we couldn't get to it. There was no public access to the land. So this rocked along for many, many years till finally Mr. Cecil developed Cecil Circle and opened up the road to his project. So we were able to buy property to access the Round Mountain Park, Hanging Park. And we started in, and I was on the city council then, we started in working on the county, offered to help build a road. The city put their effort into it. And so we developed the road, not the way we really wanted it, but anyhow, it made access to it. So really, the park is the effort of many, many people. And I put together a 30-minute slideshow that's on YouTube about people involved in it, particularly the Rotary Club of Globe put up money for the Ramada up on top of Round Mountain, and the Alliance Club put up money for the Ramada further on down. And so, and another person I really want to thank was Councilman Louis Aguirre. He put his effort into it, and he was the one that built the Ramadas and did the rock work up on top of the Round Mountain for the Rotary Club, and also built the visitor center, if you want to call it that. So this was an effort of many, many people, and I have to thank many people, and that's why I put together this 30-minute slideshow on YouTube. And if you haven't seen it, you need to take a look at it. It's very amateurish, but I did my best to it. But Rotary, maybe because I'm a Rotarian, I got Rotary involved in it, and they put up $10,000 for that emblem on top of the Round Mountain that points out the east, west, and north with a Rotary emblem in that. And so I'm very proud of what's happened up there, and I can't take credit for everything that happened, but I probably was the thought behind it and kept dogging everybody until we got it done. And so I think we have a great park within the city of Globe. And of course, I was mayor for 10 years, and probably I took a little liberty as being mayor that I didn't run some of the stuff by the council on building trails. I just went ahead and built the trails. And I figured if there was any problem later on with BLM or anybody else, I'd probably be dead, so I wouldn't have to worry about it anyhow. Anyhow, I want to thank you all for the honor you gave me tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Who's standing right there, Stan?
Oh, I was gonna stand up.
Oh, you're gonna, well, that's all right.
Give him a stand. I was gonna catch you before you sat down.
We got some.
Shelley, I still just got the agenda.
Yeah.
Do you have a hard copy?
What's that?
I don't have the agenda.
Oh.
So I want to invite Mickey Nye up to say a few words also.
Thank you. Oh, Paul.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, Mickey and I serve on the Rotary. Stan, I think, is like the longest serving Rotarian ever in the universe. But Mickey, do you want to fill in a little detail on?
Sure.
On
I mean,
Stan?
Stan is the longest living Rotarian in this entire community. I mean, and Stan's gonna correct me because this is what we do, but I wouldn't doubt to think that Stan had 50 years of perfect attendance every single week he made the meeting. So, I mean, that's unheard of in today's world. Globe Rotary, several months ago, we met with Paul and said, Paul, what do you think? And I had said, you know, because there was a conversation about, well, Gibson Round Mountain Park, and I says, I really personally like Stanley M. Gibson Round Mountain Park, and I'm grateful to you all to have accepted that verbiage as to, because I think it gives it a little bit more panache, so to speak. But, I mean, my first experience around Mountain Park many years ago was getting ready for Sunrise Challenge, which was a run or a hike, depending on how many meters you wanted to go. And we went up there to spread brick dust, and it's like, oh my God. You know, pushing a wheelbarrow up those trails was quite a challenge. And I would say that, I mean, Stan used to walk this park, I think, almost every day. And you always heard rumors about Stan having a stash of equipment. And I think it was probably 3 weeks ago that I walked this park, a different group of trails, because there's several of them up there. It was like, wow, I think I found Stan's stash. There's rakes, there's tools, there's all kinds of stuff under this tree. And it's like, I finally found it, Stan's stash. But Stan was the impetus, in my opinion, behind Round Mountain Park. Obviously, you can, once you get to the top where the flag is at, you'll see just below it, there's a bench and an area that you can sit in. It says Globe Rotary. But at the very top, as somebody said, there's that north, south, east, or west plaque with Globe Rotary. And for years and years and years, Globe Rotary supplied the flags that went up there with Johnny O'Donnell. And it wasn't until Paul became mayor that the city is now taking care of the flags. But umpteen years, we'd pay for like 3 or 4 flags a year because they just get beat to death up there. But the whole idea was Stan. I would suggest that Stan is the reason because I think he was mayor at the time, we partnered with the county and did Sunrise Challenge. And that brings a lot of people. I have hiked that many different times. I can't stand the Boulder Trail because it just kills me to come back up that trail. But I think 5 years ago, even Rotary put together another $5,000, and as you go throughout the park, you'll see a little sign that says, this is that tree, or this is that bush, and it's the real name for it, and what the common name is, and it's a picture of it so that people get a better idea of what is out there in the park. So Globe Rotary has taken a real strong affinity and a relationship with Round Mountain Park, and we're grateful for Stan and what he's done to bring, parks to our community. Paul will sit and tell you that I always tease him about we need more parks in our town. So I believe that's a reasonably good conversation about how Rotary's involved with Stan and Round Mountain Park. And I really, truly do appreciate each of you doing what you just did today. We really want to celebrate it while he's here. And thank you.
Thank you, Mickey.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Mickey, thank you very much. I wanted to call John Angulo up. He had a funny story that dovetails off of what Mickey was talking about. And John, you've been around a little while.
Yes.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Good evening, Mr. Gibson. Glad to see you. It's a great honor to actually speak on the part with the Round Mountain and everything you've done. As you know, I've been working for the city for 28 years, and one of the things that we've inherited is that gem. We talk about a lot of gems in our area, and this is definitely one of them, especially when you see the spring and even after monsoon seasons. I just spoke to Paul about this, and this is kind of what, like Mickey indicated, a lot of times when we send crews up the trails to work on the trails, they'd come back and say, look, I found these old tools, and they thought maybe it was old mining tools, and I tell them, no, put them back. Those are Stan's tools. They put them exactly where they are, because Stan always kind of camouflaged them so nobody else would grab them, so he didn't have to carry them. But I can tell you that there's many staff members working on the trails that would usually come down and say, this gentleman was up there on top of the hill telling us what to do. I said, well, if that's Stan, then you better listen. And when I I took over my position in working with the flag, like Mickey said, there were some things I thought there were some upgrades and there were some changes we wanted to make. But then the first thing I was told, you better get a hold of Stan. So with great respect to you, Mr. Gibson, thank you for everything you've done. When we send our crews up there, it's always you're in mind when we make any type of improvements. And I know you've shared with me about your annexation plans, and I keep those at heart. And at some point, you know, we get opportunity to grow anymore, then we'll go further with those. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, it would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge that Stan is also a very long-serving member of the Arizona League of Cities Executive Committee.
Yes.
And probably the oldest former member who represented the City Globe. And just for the record, 8 years of being on Rotary, I have never attended the Sunrise Challenge because ergo it's at sunrise. And so, but we're very happy to have Stan here and his family and his commitment to Rotary and to the City of Globe and the region, which is very, very important. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you.
Thank you. Freddie.
Yeah, I would like to recognize Mrs. Gibson as well. I'm sure she has been Stan's rock and leading his life in a manner that has developed his mannerisms and the way he conducts himself. So, Mrs. Gibson, I believe this is in your honor as well.
Thank you, Stan, for being here. It's an honor. Next, we have special presentations. And first, we have item 4A. We have Community Center Pool 2024 season update. And we have Lisa representing.
And I believe that Commander Haynes is going to start also with a little quick update.
Okay, Commander Haynes first.
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I wanted to give an update today on, we had a recent incident up at the community center on the 31st of May that the police department ended up responding to. It came out as an attempted kidnapping in the beginning. Our officers ended up responding to that and were able to determine right away that two juvenile females were up at the community center and had walked by a gentleman, for lack of a better term, walked by a male subject that had his hood lifted, was looking in his engine, and he made a comment to the girls, asking them if they would come over and help him work on his vehicle. They declined, and which they were taught well. They thought he was acting kind of strange and odd, thought he may be intoxicated, and they continued walking on and walked over to the front of the line over at the community center. Shortly thereafter, I guess he approached him again and asked him, "Hey, are you sure you don't want to help me work on my car?" They again declined, and he got upset, angry, and walked back to his car, jumped in his car, left. In the process of leaving, he ended up striking the stone wall as he was leaving out, damaged his vehicle, and continued on and drove out of the area. We responded, got that information. Our guys it was really kind of a textbook situation as far as the girls' reaction, staff at the swimming pool reporting it, our response to it, getting up there, finding out what actually happened, pulling surveillance video, getting a description of this person that had done this, putting out an ATL for him. We have an app the Globe Police Department does called Tip 411. Information was put out on Tip 411 regarding that. Within 3 hours, we located the person involved. One of our officers patrolling an area came across the vehicle, and from the surveillance video was able to identify the driver and take him into custody for leaving the scene of the accident and the damage to the wall. He ultimately was brought to the police station, interviewed, and the case was turned over to the Criminal Investigations Unit. They took a deep dive in it over the past week, have been looking at all the aspects of it. We don't know what was in this person's mind, what his intentions were, but they took a deep dive, ended up interviewing everybody involved again, more thorough interviews, reviewed all the video surveillance, basically wanted to determine if there was any other charges that this person could be charged with. At this given point in time, the report's been drawn up. It'll be sent to the county attorney's office for another review. They had initially staffed it with the county attorney's office. And now that everything's completed, it'll be sent to the county attorney's office to make a determination on if any other charges will follow. And that's kind of what happened. Any questions on that aspect?
No, I'd like to commend our police department, the Globe Police Department, for their quick response and gathering information, getting the information out on the app Tip 411. I think this is an app that all our residents or all our community members should really be aware of. I really wasn't fully aware of it. I know it's been on there for a while, but it was an app developed by the Globe Police Department, and but it's anonymous. And it's a way for them to pass information on to you if there's a missing child or stuff like that. And you're able to report things anonymously also. So I think that all played a key role also in apprehension of this individual also. So no, thank you guys for all that. I just got to remember, in the world we live in now, we all got to be accountable. And, we can't really totally depend on staff just at the pool area. Parents, you need to be accountable for their kids also. If you say you're going to pick them up at a certain time, they need to be there, because it's you have incidents like this that could happen. So we all got to be well aware of what's going on around us. Thank you again.
And Mr. Mayor, members of the council, also our pool staff was on their toes that day. They were aware that they caught wind that something was going on in the parking lot. They took it upon themselves to go out there, investigate, see what's going on, called 911. We teach our staff, if you think you're gonna need to call 911, just call it. And those are our coworkers. Those are the police and people who also work for the city. Also, the interesting thing is that our staff was able to manage that situation without overly alerting or interrupting the activity at the pool. And everybody continued going on. It didn't, there was Facebook was out there, and people were getting wind of it. But there wasn't like a general, hubba at the pool with all the guests still enjoying the pool. So kudos to the pool staff and to Lisa.
You bet. Yeah.
So after this incident, we did have a meeting with different members of the city staff to determine if we can do anything differently to enhance or increase the security of the pool. We had the meeting. I ended up, the chief and I both met with John Angulo and Mr. Uriel, and we drove the community center through the back end of the community center and just all over, really trying to determine where we had weaknesses and where we might want to add additional equipment, better lighting, that kind of thing. And just coming up with ideas on some things that would enhance that. One of the things is that, and I think it is going to change. There's only a couple people that have access to the surveillance equipment at the pool. And one of the things that we're going to add on is that all of our supervisors from the police department are going to obtain access to that surveillance equipment, so we can get it pulled up a little quicker if we need to the next time. We have an ongoing training session that the police department offers to the staff at the city pool at the beginning of the swim season. where they go over a lot of things that they want them to know as far as dealing with the different types of people that may come into the pool, different situations they may face, how to handle those, how to de-escalate the situations. And so that's gonna be an ongoing training that they'll continue to do. I looked at the PowerPoint today. I've got some things that I want them to add to that. So that'll continue to improve. And that's kind of where we're at with the police department side of it. I'll let Lisa talk on some of the things that they've came up with.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm going to give a presentation on the community center pool, and just an update on enhancing safety and community at the pool. I'm going to go over the overview. I'd like to discuss updating the hours. Our current hours for open swim are Monday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then we have the 2-hour break, and then we open again from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. With your permission, we'd like to propose changing the open swim from Sunday to Thursday from 11 to 6 p.m. and then Friday through Saturday. Do I change it? There you go. Okay. I'll go to the next. Those are my lifeguards and cashiers. That's Emily and Gabby right there. And they usually welcome everybody when they come to the pool. So we'd like to propose Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then we've had a lot of requests for adult lap swimming, so we'd like to do Friday, 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. and then Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. The reason we're not doing earlier on those days is because we do have the Piranha swim team, and they're doing the practices. I'd like to implement that on the 16th, Sunday, if that's okay with council. Give us time to get through the Piranha swim meet and to get it out to the public.
On Saturdays, when do you open on Saturday?
Saturday, we have the swim meet, so we're gonna be closed during the morning, so we'd open at the 4 o'clock shift. And then on Sunday, we'd implement these new hours. Give us time too to get our schedules in line too with our lifeguards.
Lisa, for lap swimming, that's all that'll be going on at that time is lap
Yeah, it
swimming?
would be just like for the adults, cause
And what is the cost of that to use it?
we'd try the same price. It'd probably be like $2 from ages, the different ages. And then 55 and up, it would probably go back to $1. We do have a lot of people requesting it.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I think the closing of we originally thought that we would need a gap for maintenance and for getting caught up and everything like that, in working with both the pool staff and public works staff. And I think we found that we're able to run full through from 11 to 7 without needing a break in allowing the crowds in. We can do what we need to do and keep the pool open during that time period. Again, that was the beauty of last year. We kind of tried out some things, started that way, this way, but I think everybody's pulled together and said we don't need to close it down during that middle session.
Ready, go ahead.
So, I'm of the opinion that you're there every day, you know what's happening, you know what the attendance looks like
I do have that.
and what you're dealing with.
So, the 10 o'clock hour is a little bit slower for us in the morning, and then it picks up. Our busiest time is at 4 p.m. And I have this right here for you. So most of our sales are at 4. And I looked this morning and we're averaging about 200 yesterday. Well, today, from yesterday, like 219 people at 4 o'clock.
Now, are these more families or?
We're getting a lot of families in the evenings.
So just to finish what I was gonna say, we talked about this pool and we've been so excited about putting it online and get it going. And again, I'm of the opinion that if our staff feels, what they need to do, I don't think it's my job to determine what hours they need to work. I mean, you know it all. I'm just so pleased that we're able to entertain the region, the community with a pool like this and a aquatic center like this for everybody to enjoy. So if you feel the hours are needed, then then they're needed. I mean, that's why we push forward with this project. So I appreciate your presentation. I'm just giving you my opinion on, you know, you basically don't have to ask me for permission to change hours.
Okay,
If you feel the need, if you feel the need, then you're the manager.
Yep.
That's just my
I
opinion.
appreciate
I'm not speaking for everybody else.
No, I totally agree with you, Freddie. You bet. And we really appreciate you stepping up and taking, management of this pool.
Yep.
I mean, that's a big deal for this year. We learned that from last year, so thank you.
You're welcome. So, next slide is annual passes are a big win. So when I did this yesterday, we had 216 family annual passes sold. I did sell a few more during the last day, like today and yesterday. We have 6 family monthly passes sold, and our top selling items is actually our children from ages 0 to 17. So that's been our biggest seller.
That's to date, these numbers?
This is from yesterday.
Wow.
So I'm gonna go to the next slide. The Piranha Swim Team, we have practices Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Usually it's, more like 8:30 a.m. We've had 2 practices missed. One was due to our chlorine pump turning off during the evening. We didn't have enough chlorine in the water, and then another was to an unfortunate incident. It was a biohazard, so we closed that. And we did do one makeup practice, which was held on Friday. We do have a swim meet scheduled for this Saturday with the Eloy Otters, and that'll be from 7. And we're anticipating 2, so we're going to open at 4. And then we have one June 29th, and then one July 6th. So then balancing fun and fairness, we're limiting the number of private events to ensure more availability to the public enjoyment. We're prioritizing community access and ensuring everyone gets a chance at the pool and clear guidelines. We have a new application that we're sending out, and we're trying to make it easier to book and give out information. And then, so we don't really want to rent out on the weekends because it limits the access to the public. So we're gonna hold the weekend ones exclusively for big organizations like 4-H, the hospital, CCYS, and the Piranha Swim Team. Priority will be given to community-focused events, consideration for special events on case-by-case basis, and special event permits may be required for revenue-producing activities involving public assembly, exhibits, concerts, and entertainment. And then we have our community board, right? People can look at it and catch up on what's happening at the community center pool. I'm encouraging them to look at it regularly for upcoming activities and special events. And I do have a paper out there for Lost and Found. Our Lost and Found is really growing. I have shoes in there, I have hats, I have glasses, I have a debit card. I tried calling the bank and they told me they couldn't give me any information. We have money, so we have lots of things building up. So I would like to encourage the public to come ask us so we can help them look for their belongings. Because we have Crocs in our office, so if they come look and ask, well, we can get it back to them if we can find it. And then strengthening our lifeguard squad. We currently have 24 certified lifeguards, so we've done a job, we created jobs. We have 10 newly hired lifeguards that are working on certification. So we're gonna get most of them certified this weekend. And we have 3 that need to be recertified, so we're working on doing that this weekend too. And then Miami will be certifying some of theirs, so we're gonna add some of our new ones there. We have some more interviews on Friday, and I think that's gonna be it to the hiring of the lifeguards. And then we have one cashier that she didn't get certified, but she's gonna be CPR certified, and we're gonna use her as a cashier. Sorry. And then we have lifeguard biweekly and service trainings, and that's my team right there. That was on Monday. We've practiced with equipment using rescue tubes, backboards, and other equipment during training to enhance real-life situations. We have a crash kit, and we do AED training. We do emergency drills. We started having the lifeguards at least once a week do a 20-meter swim to kind of keep in shape. And then we were working on professional development and customer service, because I think like, some of the soft skills are really important for them to learn and to carry with them into the future. And then here's another video or pictures of our training on Monday. So we're rescue ready, we train hard, we act fast, and we save lives. And they've been doing really good. I'm really proud of my lifeguards. And so enhancing community pool safety, we want to put an age policy for children that are with their parents. We'd like to move up the age to 10 and have the parents with them, younger than 10 with them at all times. And we feel that the parents and guardians should be responsible for the supervision and safety of their children. Our lifeguards are there to watch the people on the water, not to babysit. And then younger children will not be allowed to leave the pool area without a parent or guardian. So I'm asking my cashiers right at the doorway, if they see a younger child go out, to stop them and tell them they need to wait there for their parent, because that's the first person that's going to catch them leaving.
And Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I think this is really important that we modify this policy and require these safeguards given the day and age. I know that some parents are going to find this an inconvenience, and it's going to take a little bit more restructuring, but it really needs to happen. And we may hear about individuals that are having a hard time managing this, but I think for the safety of everyone, these are important policies to implement.
And these are my grandchildren. I was there with them on Friday. But so we want to do continual improvements for a more inviting pool experience. I'm trying to get a water aerobics instructor. So we want to introduce that as soon as we are able to. We're looking for an instructor to teach swimming lessons. We're working on getting our lifeguards that need recertified. We're working on that. So this weekend they should be the ones that need to be recertified. We'll get them done this weekend. And then we are exploring options for lockers for outside to help our patrons keep their belongings together and not have to worry about if they get in the pool they end up missing. So those are some things that we're working on. And then if you have any questions for me.
Any questions for Lisa or comments?
Excellent presentation, thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, to Lisa, thank you for all the I would say creative and workable policies you've implemented with the lifeguard staff. I know that we now have lockers for the lifeguards inside to put their personal belongings and cell phone, but then they have a two-way radio set so they can communicate outside just through voice. Yeah. And I think that's working out well.
They're very durable, thanks to John from Public Works. They got us some really good ones. So the lifeguards drop them when they have to jump into the water. They're really lasting, and the lifeguards are we're using them. I keep one in the office so I can hear everything that's going on around us too.
Are they waterproof?
Yeah, they're waterproof too. John, you got us some good ones.
Because
Yeah.
know where they're going to end up.
Yeah.
Ms. Mayor, members of council, thank you.
Lisa?
I just have one comment. I'm so grateful that that one incident was dealt with. And I guess we just need to warn the public. We're doing the best we can with a brand new facility. And we are all working together as departments to make your experience as nice as possible. My experience tells me that there's at least a 1% to 2% bad guy out there, no matter where you're at. That's in my training. So it doesn't matter whether it's a pool or you're going to Safeway. They exist. And I thank you all for working together to strengthen our vigilance, our response, and then working with the county attorney to make that message known out there. That if you mess up there, we are going to deal with you, and we will hand that off to the county attorney. And I have an expectation that the county attorney will deal with that strongly. I will monitor that one. I want to be sure that we're protected up there. And anything we can do as a council, I'm sure we'll take a hard look at it if you request it. Thank you both.
Lisa, thank you very much, and thank you again for taking, the lead on this, and making those changes that make it even better. This aquatic center, again, is due because of partnerships in our community, but it's way beyond what our expectations were, what we could offer.
Oh, yeah.
You know, all the things that are there to really take advantage of. Thank you.
Thank you.
So item B is Silver King building update.
Correct, Mr. Mayor, and I think our guests are gonna be exiting here, so again, thank you. Let them give a second to leave. Oh, you can get back to Danny, back behind the man behind the curtain.
Thank you for getting Stan here. Appreciate it very much.
Yes, we do.
And, Mr. Mayor, Connie is unable to be here for the, update on that, but she did send me a quick memo on this, and so I'm just gonna read from the memo here, but let's let them.
Yeah, you bet.
So.
She laughs, that's cute, she laughs a lot.
Okay. Okay, Paul.
All right, Mr. Mayor, as we know, the Silver King building, in a windy 3 days, it ended up partial collapse. We came in and got ADQ to help with shoring that up, and now we're waiting for final word because ADQ is working with us to do the demolition of that site. And like I say, Connie's not here to explain this, but I'm going to read the text that she sent me, kind of going over this. And let me get all the way through it, and then if we have any questions, we can sort it out. So the Silver King building, the regional rules of Region 9, which we're in, changed for emergency demolition the week before the Silver King partial collapse, giving EPA Region 9 30 days to investigate the building's SHPO investigation on the historical value. We had to make sure that there were certain historical markers that we had to take care of. Travis Barnum from ADEQ has been keeping a close eye on this project, and when he receives the results from EPA and SHPO, he will then have the approval to use his state emergency funds for the demolition of the Silver King building. Brownsfield grant will be activated in order to help the demolition due to the fact the building needs to be abated at the same time as demolished. Other words, okay, I'm not going to go into the hot stuff, but they need to go ahead and demo it and then sort out what is possibly contaminated. Until the Silver King receives the go-ahead, we were paying the rental fees on the shoring. We understood that, and that's why we put a little bit more money on there until demolition is complete. And we believe that the demolition will take place the first week in July of 2024. So the only additional comment there is with the shoring and the safety precautions and the narrowness of the opening. I know it would be nice if we could get people back and forth through there, but we're fearful that if we make any changes in how we have this safety and barricaded off, it may endanger our funding, so we don't wanna do anything on that. But like I say, if we can, we're very thankful for our friends at ADEQ, for helping us with this, and we will get this building down and then be able to fully open back up, the pathway from the stairs to Broad Street. So that's our update on that. One more.
Any questions for?
That's July, Paul?
Yeah, July,
July this
early,
year?
first week of July, probably after the 4th of July, but, yeah. That's what we're hoping, and that's our target. And there's Connie had explained, there's a switch over once that happens in the 3rd-day count, time period, when July hits, things are gonna start moving. Okay.
Good.
And we thank Connie for all her hard work and, organizing all this.
Do we anticipate the brownfield grants to cover the cost of the abatement and the demolition?
We do. Well, yes, we do. Not the shoring.
We will have to pay for the shoring and
Well,
the
we've already
fencing?
moved money to pay for the shoring.
Okay, and fencing, is that our cost too, or is that ours?
I believe the fencing is ours.
Ours, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll tell you that it's been very, it's gonna be about, I think, $85,000 price tag, so I think we're doing good with this. So we appreciate our partners at the state.
Any questions or comments for Paul?
No, thanks.
I wanted to ask council, before we move to item C, which is our CIP, if we could move item 5B to the next item. And that's on the consent agenda, only because we have a posse here and we don't want them, if they have somewhere to go, we don't want them to sit through a long CIP presentation, if we're good with that.
Yeah.
That's fine, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we'll pull item 5B out of consent, and we'll move it up to consideration now. So it's consideration of a donation of $5,000 to the Gila County Sheriff's Posse for direct services provided by the City of Globe to support city special events to be funded through account number 10-50-51410.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Since I've been involved with the police department over the last 2 decades, or almost 3 decades now, the Gila County Sheriff's Department posse has been instrumental in helping us with all of our different events that we have throughout the course of the year. For those of you that don't know, it's made up of a group of individuals that volunteer their time to the community. They don't get paid for what they do, but they're always generous with their time, and they come out to help us with numerous events, to include the First Friday events that they've taken upon since we started doing that. They're out there on almost all of them. They help us with graduation ceremonies, Halloween, Christmas light parade, and they probably on average do about 2 to 3. If you average it out during the course of the year, they do about 2 to 3 events for us every year. And that just increases the public safety aspect of things for our department, where we have shortages they're able to fill in, and that's something that we really appreciate. With that being said, they have a very limited budget, and so for a lot of the events that they used to do for us, they do a lot of them for free, and then there's some that they would charge us hourly just for their operating expenses. And a couple of years ago, I had approached them about maybe changing that up, and we just give them a certain amount per year to allow them to put it towards their operating budget for whatever their needs might be. And that's kind of what we looked at doing. And so long as we're able to put that in the budget each year, the entire city benefits from their services. And so we would like to be able to provide them with the $5,000 this year and continue to use their services to benefit public safety. So I understand that the check is in the mail, Shelley.
The best thing is it's in the budget, so it will be in the mail.
So, it's coming, and I'll let you know when it's available. I appreciate everybody that showed up tonight.
Anybody want to speak on behalf?
I'm seeing heads nodding.
You, unfortunately, you'll have to come to the mic, so, but if you want to.
How about a photo?
Get a photo with them,
Then
with Chuck.
maybe we can get you all to jump up in front of council and get a quick photo.
And then speak.
Yeah,
Then-
we truly
How about just
appreciate,
the photo?
come on up, let's get a photo.
we appreciate what your group does for us. 5,000 really isn't a whole lot for all the services that we get from you guys. Maybe in the future we can, raise that to a higher amount, but we appreciate everything you guys do.
Come on, Danny.
There we go. There's a group you don't want to mess with.
Right?
Thank you all for your service.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
all.
So with that, do we have a motion on that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if there
Thank
are
you.
no other comments or questions, I would motion that we approve the donation of $5,000 to the Heath County Sheriff's Posse from account number 10-50-51410.
Second?
We have a motion and a second for approval of item 5B. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passed. They're gone already. So next we have item C, and this is fiscal year 2024-2025 budget and capital improvement plan for presentation and direction. And we have Public Works, Fire Department, and Police Department.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, we're gonna start with Public Works and then work our way through. And that would not be the PowerPoint, that would be the other PowerPoint with the green background. There it is, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you. With respect of time, we've narrowed our slide presentation. I think it's narrowed to 39 slides now, but.
Thanks, John.
So I'd like to begin with, one of the things that we all look at, of course, I've often come before you and mentioned, I want to be proactive as staff, and, our department wants to be proactive, but always with the 100-year infrastructure, it's hard to be proactive when we're usually reactive. But what I wanted to share with you is a lot of the projects that we're actually getting ahead of the game. We're catching with your support and the budget, and even with staff reaching, getting some WIFA loans and other funding sources, and putting our heads together and coming to you for these multiple projects. So we just kind of wanted to give you a quick summary of some of the projects that we have ongoing, some of the stuff that we're working into the CIP request as well. So I just wanted to so I'll go ahead and start off. So we have the citywide infrastructure, improvements. Go proactive asset management and stay ahead. So CIP proposed projects we have currently, one of the first ones we have would be flow meters. We recently had flow meters as far as our sewer system, looking for, our northeast corridor growth. And we've already started to identify some infiltration through the creek crossings and such with a lot of those snow cap melting. And when they were out there installing these flow meters, we're finding a lot of infiltration. Of course, it does go and make it to our sewer plant, and that increases our numbers as far as treatment. So that's one of the first items we're actually coming for you, and we actually have this listed as a WIFA sewer that's going to be on our upcoming project list. So that's already on the list for up and coming projects. Another item that we have would be our cemetery expansion. We've talked about the cemetery and shortage. That has already been designed. There's for dollar amount and funding, that's to be determined. But we already have the design that was gone through Rick Engineering, so we have that. It's a shelf-ready project. we'll just be looking forward to additional, as you know, certain parts of that property are developable. We mentioned in the infrastructure group meeting, there's other areas that we would look to design as far as realty, but right now we actually have property that we can work towards. And since we do have the design that's ready to go, once the funding is allowed. La Mesa Terrace area, recently, this is one of our troubled areas. It's recently right at the base of a PRV valve. So there's certain things we can control, but once, as with any old infrastructure, once you start repairing so many feet, 50 feet here, and it just continues, and that's kind of the, it's been, I won't say the normal, but it's something we're gonna deal with. So this is on our list here for possible WIFA reimbursement, and on our project list as well. Historic building upgrades, development, ongoing maintenance fund. So we've been approached, as you know, we have many properties and businesses downtown that are like our old courthouse or CVS building. We're working this into our budget because there's some upgrades. Since it is on the historic register, we just can't go in there and randomly do work without being, getting licensed contractors, which would be our policy anyways. But there's some work we can do, but this is actually kind of going outside of that element. So this has actually been worked into that. We currently have one bid, and we're starting that process because there's some woodwork and stuff in front of the old CVS building that we're looking to incorporate and repair, and there's some elevator, just upgrades.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, and John, just for a little bit of context, this is a high-level presentation for many of the projects that are the ongoing projects with various funding sources. Like say, when we meet back again to finish off the budget, the carry forwards will be included in there, like these WIFA projects. Those will be dependent on the future WIFA, certain amount of future WIFA capacity that we're going to look in the future. And so we're going to build these into the budget and work through these stuff that the projects that we already have funding and have funding available will continue to go, and then we'll come back for additional requests as WIFA and different sources has come through. But that's why, because the funding is still being worked through on these, we wanted to group these by the types of projects and the goals of the project rather than the funding sources. But if you have any questions about the funding sources, let us know, and we can do that. But again, we're still looking to see the bottom lines on our fund balances, and I will repeat that we will not ask council to approve anything to come out of the fund balance without specifically saying this will hit the fund balance. So this is informational and kind of to let you know what's coming, and then we will package this into the budget when we present in the next two meetings. So, I'm sorry, John, but go ahead.
John, on the Central Avenue, I don't know if I missed it or did you skip over that one? What is that, a replacement?
It's a water line replacement. It's one of the we start hitting the hit list, so to speak, when we start having issues. That area there is actually, it's kind of combined, it's from city into county, but it is our water line, and it is main that actually feeds, and there's possible future development for residents in that area, that there's been some grading and stuff. It is private on their part, but we want to make sure that that water source is actually sufficient. But it has been ongoing. It's just one of the ones that we put on our list because we do know that there is a problem. It's just aged.
Do our water lines go in the county also, or do they stop at the?
It actually goes into right above, right past the county. It actually feeds in, and then their taps start tying into our line. So it's actually kind of one of those areas where it does cross over to some degree. Okay. So that would be, and then we would make that determination, the separation at that point where the private and the city line does.
Okay. Thank you.
So next slide I have Northeast Corridor, goal, council vision to prepare for future development and primary growth. Current projects we have, we just met with the Corps of Engineers last week with their water line replacement, our 595, and that's phase 1. We had a meeting here at City Hall, and they basically our staff sat in engineering, and the rest of the staff sat in with them and getting next steps, to move this project forward. This is actually one that's already, we've come before you prior to get the $700,000 match as far as a WIFA loan. This would be going in that list. But this is just phase one. We have it phased out to 3 possible phases. And Luis, our engineer, is actually, we just met today on that. We'll meet next week as well for getting the next phase. That was actually, they encouraged us and they're supportive of our next phase, the next 2 phases. So we basically have to, we'll be coming back to you for future. Just like Paul mentioned, there's future funding sources to be determined. CIP's proposed projects, the sewer line extension. That's one of the ones, as you know, we not only we talk about water line extension in Northeast Quarter, there's sewer line, but there's also sewer line infrastructure that we're gonna be tying into. So when we talk about the expansion of it and extension, we also need to do, and I'll touch base on that in the next slide. There's also upgrades that we're gonna need to determine at that point. So annexation, additional maintenance responsibility. This actually is just going towards annexation towards the fairgrounds and properties. We need to actually go, we've already been doing some research, meeting with the DOC, Department of Corrections, possibilities of expansion, tying them into our system. There's also residents and some other properties out there that have, approached the city on that. So this item's actually in that for possible future additional.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, and John, just if you look at CIP proposed project, the phase 2 of the 595 water line replacement, 2.5 in federal funding. This is something that we can dovetail off of the phase 1 and just roll right into phase 2, but we will need help from our congressional delegation on finding funds for that. And so that is going to the top of our federal requests and agenda. And as we move forward with our work with our lobbyists and with working with the government, with the federal government, that'll become one of our top requests because it's so easy. Once we get that funding, we can just loop it right through.
And then phase 2, we'll have to come up with $800,000 in city match.
In city match, yes.
On top of that.
Now, if you look at phase 1, is looking over a 2-year period. By the time that we get that money designated and delivered, there's probably a year out before that phase 2 would actually hit. In the perfect world, it'd be a year out. So we'll have time to find that. But again, for every $3 we get, it costs us $1, 25% match. John, go ahead.
Okay. So preparing for additional development, once again, the goals position the city sees all developmental opportunities. Currently, we'll be working to work on a general plan update. As you all know, we're coming to that cycle that we'll be working with staff and most importantly, yourself, mayor and council, to update our general plan. So we're looking to possibly get some, put that funding in there so we know it's time sensitive to some degree, but we want to start early. Of course, this is kind of that time that we'd start putting something together so we can start planning that properly. Next, perform citywide water and sewer plan, wastewater sewer plan, future development. As you know, working with the general plan, we talk about master plans. But one of the most important things is the master plan is for the future and growth. But we still have a lot of outlying issues that we're trying to approach currently. So that's one of the things that we hope that once we effectively start looking at now. We've had prior discussions, but we know it's important that certain things we just can't put off, and those things actually. But as long as we have the thought of the growth and for future development, I think we'll be okay until we get this master plan. But there's many daily issues that we'll deal with, but we'll deal with them accordingly and as budget allows. Consider water rate and fee study, overall plan. Paul, did you want to touch base on the overall, on the Wildan?
Yes, and so we are in the wrapping up the water rate and the fee study because we need to do the cost recovery. Development should pay for itself. We have not had a fee study for a while. We're looking at that. And that will come in the later half of this year as we decide where we're gonna go. This has not been decided. We have a study to look at, and we will present this separately in the fall to council to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the long term for our water and wastewater system. But it also plays into the WIFA loan situation and where we're at our loans, and so we'll look at that also and make sure we're doing the right thing. And then the WIFA loans play into some of our future projects. So we'll get the budget and include all these items in the budget, and then we'll have those chances to take a long look at the impact of and the viability of our funding for our water and sewer enterprise. The other thing that we are looking at is the capacity fee, and that is for growth, since we're now under the experience of having large people, well-funded development coming in here, and they're putting they're asking us to give them a section of the capacity of the sewer system and water. And so if they're gonna be filling our, using that capacity, they need to help put a little money towards the future of replacing that capacity. So that's where you get the concept of capacity fees and the idea that growth should pay for itself. So, and we're not gonna make money off this, but neither should we lose money off of this. And these are these growing pains we always talk about, and getting these situated before. One of the things that City of Globe has done very well is positioning ourselves so that when the opportunities arrive, we're ready to handle them. And this is one of the things we now need to do. So when future opportunities arrive, we can make sure that we can take advantage of these common practices that other cities use. And before we leave this slide though, I would like to ask Councilman Rios, I know one of the conversations we had at the work group is about making sure that when we do any type of replacement, we replace for the future and the capacities for the future, not the capacities of the present. And that's to a point what the master water and sewer plan is. But as you said, you had some, I just wanted to know if you wanted thoughts you wanted to share from that discussion.
Yeah, so it was a really good conversation. We talked about, obviously we know what a master plan does. It reaches to the future and it helps us plan for the future. But the conversation I was having was with the current facilities that we have in ground right now, a lot of them are undersized based on current standards. Give you an example, a 2-inch water line is no longer a standard water line anywhere in the US. But back 80, 90, 100 years ago, it was okay. It was fine. My thought on this is that if we get a chance to, if we have a line that we have to replace, we just absolutely have to replace it because it's failing, and it's a 2-inch line. Even though it's 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet or whatever it might be, let's go in with current standard size pipe. I know people will say, well, all you're doing is bottlenecking and things like that. Well, that could be true to a sense, but if you're over time, as you're replacing these old failing mains and they're undersized, at some point in time you're going to have that current standard size main line in the ground, and so I know that fire departments would love that. I deal with that a lot in my job and dealing with old communities. Fire departments really have a difficult time with production of water in the time of a fire because the main lines are undersized. And so that was part of the conversation. Just consider when you go in there, just upsizing the line, because really, in my opinion, the cost is just not that great, because you're already paying a contractor to go out there and dig. You're already paying a contractor for the permits and everything they gotta do and break the asphalt and replace the asphalt. So really, the only difference is paying for the cost of a larger water line. That's really the only additional cost. And I think it's you know, the benefits are worth the cost. And so those were the conversations we were having. These are things, and I appreciate John and the Public Works team for having to go through these things and understand that, you know, people don't see this. Everything is happening underground. Nobody sees this. But yet it is such a vital part of our quality of life. You know, you turn on the tap in the morning to wash your face, brush your teeth. Nobody ever thinks about what it takes to get that water to your tap. You know, from bringing it out of the ground, wells, pumps, motors, electrical costs, treatment, repairs, replacements, maintaining pressures, adequate pressures, and on top of all that, maintaining the quality of the water to EPA standards and ADQ standards. So my hat's off to you, John, and Public Works for that. I just have a real good understanding of what you're going through. So those are the kinds of things about infrastructures and developments and things like that. I think we're on pace, we're on track to addressing all that. And obviously when we get this master plan for the water and sewer, really we're gonna have a roadmap for decades to come, that they can see what needs to be done, what things should be looked at, and this will be passed forward to the next generation of operators. And so what we're doing here today in this master plan is, again, developing a roadmap for future operators, for future staff, so that they don't have to go through these difficult times. They will know what needs to be done at what particular time, and we'll hope for the best. Right, so.
Thank you. I wanted to let the full council hear that conversation, because it was an important conversation. And we've already, to a point, done that with, I can't remember the one water line out, Just Hayes, that we did. And you specifically said, let's go big. And so we went bigger there. And the master plan will kind of dovetail off of that with making sure that we have that capacity. One of the things that master plan is gonna help figure out is what we call the beehive, where that area where there's kind of, you know, water line central and sewer line central, and make sure that we have those. When we do upgrade that, we upgrade it, because that's is essential and for all the future growth. So I think we're on that same page, but we appreciate the guidance and, you know, the idea of setting up some standards and making sure that we look at these things, and that's what we want to do. Again, we're upping our game and making sure that we're ready for development when it comes.
Yep. I think your motto should be go big or go home.
We still got our CIP list to present to you, so.
Yeah, I think they got that message.
I thought that was it, we were done. John, on this general plan, is there a timeline for completion that we're looking at to complete that general plan? The update?
The master plan? Oh, the general plan.
General plan.
This fiscal year.
This fiscal year is what we're looking at completion.
So, no, and that's gonna be important, because that's gonna, you know, that is a key part. We don't expect a lot of change, but it's time that we check in every 10 years. We should check in and make sure see what's changed and see what we know. And that'll guide everything else too. So it's all coordinated.
So Mayor and Council, just in closing this slide, I actually want where we mentioned meet cost recovery goes, just for the public, just to understand. It could be anywhere from sewer and water tap fees. But one of the things that, where we're doing, the engineering's doing reviews and such traditionally. We have set, rates, but not all the rates actually have been, refreshed, I would say, are up to, you know, what's local and what many other entities, municipalities are actually in line with. The civil restoration as well, that's something that when Jerry Barnes was here, we started doing, is there's a lot of asphalt work being in town that was not being, there was not a process. By incorporating that process, that gives a lot of, you know, a lot of money back towards for our repairs, and actually following the process for the contractors or any, you know, any utility work done in our area, that secures that. So next I have sustainable water supply. Goal, ensure water efficient delivery of safe water system. So our current CIP, water conservation grant, as you know, we've come before you, and there's a presentation tonight as for our AMI meters and purchase and replacement. The grant, we've already received that funding source where the city has met that match as well. So there's water lines material inventory. So upon the inspection of changing out these new meters to do the I'd say smart meter, but it's the AMI meters, there's actually a requirement that we would need to meet, is to actually do the study of the water that's the water line that's from the resident to our meter, and actually from the service from the city to the meter on both sides. So this actually would be part of that, you know, project, and the funding's actually there. Councilmember Rios, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just thinking, so the requirement is to go from the city main line to the meter, and then from the meter to the customer site?
Yes, it's just to do the inspection on which, so if it's copper or galvanized or anything, so
material
yes.
type?
Yeah, once they're replacing the meter, they're gonna be doing the inventories for us, installing the new meters, and then we'll be doing that inspection. Originally, there was, which we say was when we mentioned is a copper and lead study. It's not necessarily lead because a lot of the pipes are galvanized, but we know they're aged and a lot of the residents not even aware what side. So it's basically an inventory of the material that's in the ground. So once we incorporated that project, that was gonna be a requirement. So we actually were able to get when we got the funding for the meters, and then we're just putting that into one project. So and there'll be meters, boxes and stuff that we're gonna be, you know, possibly relocating, lowering. There's still meters probably beyond property lines. So we're gonna address those issues as we're going. That's where it's really important to have the inventory, and we'll have that all into our system, GIS system. Because right now we have some pretty vague descriptions of where the meters are at for our meter readers. If they have to do a recheck, they have to a lot of it. And what happens is that years ago when we had staff checking meters by hand, they always cleaned areas anew. Now that they're all on automatic, some of those meters get buried, you know, by whatever it may be, even brush. So it's really good that we're having this inventory, because it's going to give an up-to-date model of what we have underground.
No, that's gonna be a great update for your at least your service locations.
Yes. One of the other, in the same project list, we've come before you also where we're talking with this same conservation grant. We'll be redoing the Daybreak water line. We've come before council for that. And then also our 4th Street water line that we know we've had issues where off of the old East Globe School that tends to break continuously and leads out into the highway. Current CIP, water sustainability, aquifer capacity. In the past year, we've had discussions, as you know, it was always, in this specifically this time of year in summertime, you know, water shortage or water concerns will always come to the forefront. This past year is actually more so than I think in past. One of the things we met with USI, and they're helping the city. One of our on-calls is actually working with staff, and we're in the process of getting a study as far as for update and for future presentation to you, where we're at in some of our aquifers and any possible plans for future development, or what needs, maybe it could be, with our safe water. It could be with our, just conserving water, so we'll come forward to you with a different, what they find on their presentation, but there's also some ideas, just like with our group, what Vince and Luis and Melissa worked on on that grant with, where they're actually, actually Councilman Gonzalez, you worked as well. So there's just water conservation. Okay. Also, we'll be working into this budget, like Paul mentioned, for the funding. We recently had a water line that we ended up isolating. It's actually across the highway, or it's Speedway across on the junction. There's a water line that was leaking in the center median, and at that time, with staff, we determined without it did not affect the other outlying areas, but it actually crosses the highway. So at that, we determined without not having the funding in hand, we went ahead and isolated with valves. But with this project here is actually to incorporate that back that way. So it adds on to isolation. So if we have any breaks down in the future, anywhere else, we'll be able to isolate it. So we're not, it is already sleeved in the highway. To start a new sleeve and a new water line under the highway, it's going to be quite the chore. So we would actually, this project would be redoing that water line. We recently reached out to the projects with this project that we're doing on Daybreak. Contractor may be in the area, it will be in the area, so there may be some mold fees savings, and we're getting quotes for that. We actually have some quote, just prior to, so we can actually present and bring that forward. All right, so long-term wastewater treatment capacity. Goal, provide improved capacity and quality of wastewater treatment. So, Paul, did you want to speak on this one? This one's a lot of partnerships.
Yeah, we have been, one of the things that we have done historically provided our effluent to the mines in partnerships. We had negotiated, I think right when I got here, 2016, an effluent agreement. One of the things that our partners would like to see is A+ effluent coming out of our plant. Right now, I think is it B+ or A-, I'm not sure. But so that's something that they're willing to help us with, and so we're looking at that as a way to advance our plant with the help of our partners, and some other things. They're looking for A+ effluent, and they're looking for as much effluent as they can. So I think in the next 6 months, you'll see us engaging in discussion with those partners as to how to make all those things, and possibly renegotiation of the contract. So, but the bar screen is something that we've needed to have, and the sewer master plan. I think, John, we want to, whatever we do, we want to make sure that in the future, 5, 10, 20 years, we have the sewer capacity, correct?
Yes. So also on the bar screen, we've actually come before council in previous budget or current budget. So the equipment actually has been, we've made 2 payments on that, and the equipment will be here July? Yeah, June, later part of June. So coming forward to you with this next budget, we'll actually be looking for construction costs. So most of the equipment's actually starting to come on site now as we speak. So we've already started getting some of that equipment in. And then once again, like Paul mentioned, the master plan study element in the general plan update, that's all going to be important for future development and current, because that's one of the things is we're finding that a lot of staff has been doing a lot of research. We've had additional staff that actually can get out there and do some more work with the GIS. So we're finding a lot of issues, not in the sense that it's something that's failing, but there's just things that we know that at some point with the expansion, it's not just on our Northeast Corridor, it's actually in town. We've got the Gorman project, we've got other possibilities of growth in town. So we want to address those before they do become an issue. So maintain regular compliance, regulatory compliance. Go addressing historic environmental issues. Up at our city public works yard, we have a mediation with ADEQ. We've been working on that project for quite some years. Mayor, if you remember, years ago, their public works yard had some fuel tanks up there. So we've been working on that to remediate that project. We just recently met with ADQ about a month ago. This week on Thursday, we have a follow-up meeting to see what process, where we're at, and what possibilities we may look towards for additional funding and also the treatment, and actually hopefully at some point soon, we can close that.
Looking for an end
Project
date,
out.
hopefully in the future.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, so we did get, $1 million, effort to start the process of, remediating, what has resulted in, from having tanks on the Hagen site. And we need to pick that project back up and continue that. And so that's something we will be working into the budget. That's pretty much a requirement that we do that. But I just wanted to compliment our partners at ADEQ. They understand that we have limitations, and they've been very good about trying to come up with a solution that we can that is workable for us. And so looking for ways to make sure that the enforcement is reasonable and appropriate. So that's all if you can get that out of a government agency, reasonable and appropriate, then I think we're doing good.
How many years have we been in the remediation process?
Before
10
my
plus? Yeah.
John, you 20 years.
I would say at least 20, at least. Yes. We were still effectively using some of those fuel pumps when I started, so it's been at least 20.
Yeah.
So, but the important thing is we've seen maps of it, and we've isolated it. The plume has gotten smaller, and we're in the process of removing it, and we will. Number one thing is we protect our groundwater, and ADQ is confident that we have done that, and we will continue to do that until it's considered handled.
And also, there's no immediate well sites within that vicinity, so that's one of the things they shared with us, that's, like Paul said, we've been monitoring that, so that's one of the biggest concerns is how far there may be sources and stuff, but there's nothing been indicated to this point. So, the other is PFAS remediation. As you know, the past year, we're working with ADQ, we did some testing of all our wells. We did have one well site, that's the Pine Street well here. We're still flushing the well, but the numbers on the PFAS came in just a little bit higher than the normal. Luckily, this is a low producing well. So at the time, even when they were testing, we were flushing them out, they're not, it's not in use. It has not been in the system, at least for the past year. So the 25,000 where we have remediation, that's not for actual treatment, it's just coming up with a study once we get the final from ADQ that they would say this is a standard that you're gonna have to follow, and everything it's actually guidelines are set. Councilman Rios, I don't believe anything has been set, correct? As far as guidelines for PFAS?
I understand that there was a federal ruling that came out maybe 2 weeks ago, somewhere around there, so you might want to look into that. So we do have some numbers from the government as far as limits and MCLs and things like that.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, and Councilman Rios, you've been ringing the warning bell for us, for about a year and a half now, and you saw it coming.
Yeah, it was coming. It was coming.
And it's like say, they're finding new ways to identify this stuff, these chemicals, and if that's the requirement by the government, then that's the requirement we'll meet.
There was actually, this is just a side story to PFAS that I know. When the first limits came out, they weren't adopted yet, but there were laboratories that couldn't even test to that limit. So, that's where we're at.
Mayor and Council, I'd also share with you that actually when we were approached This was kind of some of their initial, testing rural communities. We volunteered for this testing because, that's not often you want to find something, but we know that Councilman Rios mentioned, it's up and coming. It's a new thing they're bringing forward, and we wanted to make sure that we're in compliance, and this is something that we were proactive, and they applauded us for it, invited them into our community and doing all our sites. So they've actually come out twice and tested just to make sure everything's good. So that actually is something that we were proactive, and to me, we're still ahead of the game because it's not just City of Globe, it's all over the world. It's just it'll be ongoing.
John, do we anticipate ever putting the Pine Street well back into service again, or?
There would be, once we possibly do the study on that, there's gonna be significant treatment. It's gonna be significant. Right now, I couldn't answer it as far as dollar amounts, but just having this discussion earlier today, we know that it could be done once those guidelines are set. And even looking at the numbers, without looking at the newer standards, we were just slightly, but, slightly long-term does make a difference as well, so we don't take that lightly. So I was glad to know that this pump is actually, this well has actually been offline for quite some time. So,
Mr. Mayor, members of council, that, as the technology matures, the costs will come down. And we will isolate this well because it's not cost efficient to mitigate it, to use it. We have it in our bank of water supply. If the costs come down and the needs go up, there may come a time where it is worth to do the mitigation. But American Ingenuity, they, just as they're finding better and better ways to get the copper out of the ore that's already been processed a couple times before, I think they'll fine tune their ability to get these out and hopefully lower the cost, and we can get that well back on in the future. But we'll sit on it until the situation changes.
and also just for mayor and council to know, so the next two items I've got listed is HAV properties, which we list as basically the old DeRose property. There's some units out there, and then August Hills Mobile Home Park. We've been approached by ADQ that they're also doing in their testing. They did testing all over the area. They've got some numbers that they're gonna wanna work. They're actually funding that, but they approached the city and we've met with them twice. And going forward, they would actually do their mitigation and upgrade their system or all the water lines around these trailer parks, and then hope to tie into our system. But we want to make sure, just like mentioned in our infrastructure meeting, we want to make sure that we have adequate, once again, it goes back to the supply line that's actually feeding these things so it doesn't affect our other outside area for our residents as far as pressure. Of course, the farther out we get towards the canyon, sometimes we've had some pressure issues. So we want to make sure those, needs are met. But that would be ADQ paying for that cost, like I said, tying into our system.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, more housing. We can get these trailer parks up and running and partner with them. And that's more livable spaces for our community.
Yeah, one of the properties has a estimated 15 units, could be possibly more. The other one has roughly, what Vince kind of took elected, it was around 30 units total within that footprint that they have existing. So, Silver King remediation, we've gotten an update from Paul. So next we have asphalt bridges and sidewalks. Everybody's always excited about that. So the goal, continue aggressive transportation improvement program. It's been a few years now that we started working with Jerry with his experience in asphalt preservation. We've been working that pretty much as hard as we can. We currently, of course, are using our asphalt towards completing our bridge projects, but we're actually in line. I've had staff kind of, looking at some options, and we're actually pulling up some chip seal list and such. So once we're completing these big projects, we'll see where our funding sources are. But that's the whole goal, is to actually start captivating and pretty much pick up where we left off. Sidewalk design downtown Broad Street, that's currently out for bid for the design. And then we also would go out for our Safe Street Grant. Mayor, you understand, you're aware of this project, working with Connie. We've received funding there. We've already come to you for the match on that grant. So she's working, I believe it's getting ready for,
We'll be doing a presentation, I think, in July. We'll be doing it to bring it to council.
yes, so that's moving along, and as you know, there's always with recently, some of the striping and stuff was downtown, and that was actually because a lot of the residential requests and trying to make it safe. So we did something preliminary, but we're really looking forward to these enhancements with this grant for downtown area. Jess Hayes, sidewalk improvements. There should be coming up an update to you for presentation. Luis would be bringing that to you with 60% plans. Correct, Luis? Yeah, so that'll be coming back to you. We did a preliminary, and as you all shared your concerns with residential constituents, questions. So we'll be coming back to you with that presentation, and then we'll have a little bit more defined some maps and stuff to present to you, and then we'll bring Rick Engineering back in to answer any questions. And of course, we'll reach out to the residents so they can attend the meeting, or we can actually do on-site visits.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, John, I think we had committed to some type of an open house.
Yes.
That we would have, and we don't need to talk about it now, as long as we let everybody know that we're still committed to that open house where the residents can come outside of a council meeting and meet with the engineers and say, okay, this is my address, where, what will happen to me.
Yes.
The other thing that I just wanted to share is found out is there's a lot of concern about the mailboxes, and the mailboxes in the front of the sidewalk or on the back of the sidewalk. And we're gonna try to lead them there, but the curb will be a rolled curb. And so the post office trucks can drive up onto the curb and the sidewalk and get close enough so they can deliver the mail, so they don't have to stop and step out. That was a big concern of the Postal Service. And so that alleviated a lot of the concerns, and I'll leave it at that. But it's, like I say, I don't think, of all the projects we've done, I don't think we've had more outreach or people asking questions in that sidewalk project.
Okay. Also listed Hill Street Corridor. What this project is actually from Barnett Delaney US 60, which the asphalt we've already completed. There's some sidewalk and signage that will be finished up once the bridge is actually getting tied into. So there you see some signage still out there, some sidewalk repair that needs to be done. That will be all going through with Luis and Engineering for completion, and all that will be finished off once they get to that point. They're trying to schedule, when they schedule the concrete work and curbs and gutters, that's actually, once they come in and do all that work, then we'll address the other. But the Hill Street corridor, that's what that incorporates. The Connie's Bridge, that's basically, of course, that's ongoing, as you all know. And we recently gave an update, so I don't have any more unless Luis has anything. I don't think we have anything specific to report this time. They're just moving along, and hopefully we get a little bit further along before we're all worried about monsoon season. It's around the corner. So Cottonwood Bridge, that bridge is moving along. They had same thing with some, when we had some water, when the rains that we did have, some snowcat melt, they were a little bit delayed. But just like with the bridge on US 60 right now to Superior, I spoke with ADOT this morning. They're already starting to project further dates out because of the, ordering and materials. Yeah. And so that's why the closures are fluctuating now, because they're already kind of hitting a couple little snags themselves. So, but that's their project, so. So proposed projects, the Yuma Bridge, that one's basically on hold. We approached that one we're looking at other funding sources. We know that's in line. We want to make sure we really hit all our bridges. That one currently is on hold until we find additional funding sources for that. Sidewalk replacement, construction, that's the next step on the sidewalk design for downtown. Luis would be working with staff to seek additional funding for that. Priority sidewalk replacement. Councilman Stapleton, you mentioned that earlier. This funding request is just for specifically that, you know, we a lot of times too, with, you know, as old as our town is, there's always things that were gonna pop up. Sometimes where do you start, where do you stop? A lot of the times we'll find something that definitely needs to be addressed. That's what this funding request would be for, in that item. We have other funding sources when we do that, but we've actually, this is gonna be kind of specific to those, you know, in between things. We have our HERF, we have half-cent excise, but we're generalizing doing those where we're taking away rain gutters, drainage, in our chip seal projects. A lot of times too, like as you remember by the TP, where we're doing the asphalt and paving that, and that turned into a whole year, almost a delay in the gutter, because that was not anticipated. So that's additional, that would go through her for half-cent or any other funding that we might, but that would be specific to sidewalks at least. As I mentioned, asphalt chip fog seal striping program, the funding sources are listed there. You know, half-cent excise, and HERF. Those are specific. So like I said, once we complete our bridge project, we'll revisit and see where we're at. We met with Cactus Asphalt on Thursday this past week. And it's not just specific, but they actually do a lot of work for ADOT in the area. So we always kind of reach out to the, you know, paving companies, when they're in the area to see if there's any, you know, cost savings that we can share or save and get with the contract. We've done that in the past. And if we complete our bridge as hoped, we may be able to put in line some fall projects, which traditionally we don't hit fall projects. We work on spring, but with the budget cycle, we'll revisit where we're at. And of course, we'll come to you for further approval. Dirt and substandard road paving. Now, Globes doesn't have a lot of roads that are just dirt, and but there is some that we have drainage issues. There's some years ago that were anticipated of paving, and that those were not paved during, you know, due to budget and other items that may have come about. We've got some sewer lines that were renewed. Some, you know, we've got some property that actually has been affected, and it can be anywhere throughout Globe. Where we're adding this into our system only for the fact that we do know there's a limited amount of dirt roads, but they do, you know, there's certain roads that we know that wear water lines, and we're constantly having to go doing maintenance. It'd be nice to actually we have newer infrastructure in those areas, so it'd be nice to pave those and then do the gutter system and drains and not have any continued issues.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, one of the things, an interesting turn of events is, you know, we have these roads that are needing of being paved, but it's a heavy lift on that. Sanders Drive is one that has been on our radar a lot, and the residents have actually come forward with a proposal to split those costs. And so we want to make sure that we put some money into the budget for that and work out that agreement. And it'd be a little bit more complex, could be an annexation of the roadway in there and everything like that. But that's just, I think that makes me think of the common lines and the fact that if we just put a little bit of money away every year and just try to knock down these dirt roads or these substandard roads, Jerry's words echo in my head that 80% of the roads we have ways to fix, but there's 20% of the roads that are so bad, the only thing you can do is just replace them. And that 20% we need to start addressing, even though those are the most expensive roads. But we need to you know, refocus on get a progress, some pathway over time to get those taken care of.
On Sanders Drive, there's some county area in there, isn't there?
Right. Yes. The homes are in the city Globe. The roadway is primarily in the county.
Really?
And it's not paved, but I think that, you know, if we can, I think do the right thing, get the roadway brought in and annexed in at the same time, work with them to come up with a plan to fund that paving and then get that into our schedule of projects.
Mr. Mayor, Paul, John, I didn't see the Haskins Bridge on this list. and I haven't seen it on previous. Can we add it to the list? Call it the wish list, whatever, but I don't see the Haskins Bridge on here.
Councilman Gonzalez, actually working with Luis and Travis. Travis, did you wanna come up and, come on up?
Okay, you're talking the lower one, huh?
Yeah,
Asking on
it's the
okay.
last bridge on the right
Yeah.
as you leave.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. ADOT has a off-system bridge and bridge formula program that they institute every year. And so around October of this year, we're anticipating to apply for that under the bridge formula funding, which is 100% funded for Haskins. Haskins is an eligible bridge for that program. So we're intending to do and apply for those funds.
Well, 100% sounds great to me, so.
Question on the Yuma Bridge also, I thought, whatever happened to the appropriation state fund, the list that was there? I know we were high on the list, and that is still stalled?
That is still stalled. The expectation is not gonna pass, obviously, for this year because of the state budget situation. Through the CAG T-TAC, we had recommended to just move those projects forward for the next request for the next fiscal year budget on the state level. But they're still gonna have a $600 million shortfall from what I understand from the state budget for fiscal year 26. So the only thing we can do is just keep letting the state legislature know that these are the needs, and we're just gonna keep pushing the same project.
Thank you.
Just to close off, on the Sanders discussion on that property, it is, like Paul mentioned, what's ironic is all the residents, houses are on city property, the water line's on city property, and then you take 2 steps forward and you're into county or private. The residents have all met previously, and we're working with the county, and the county was kind of in agreement. So there's some, some stuff that would have to be laid out and prior, but I can share that if you remember, and I wish I had the dates, but the sewer lines were replaced in a lot of the Skyline area and stuff. With Sanders Drive was actually anticipated to have the sewer line. I believe that's why the residents signed up, and it just became, actually that project came short. So the sewer line was originally supposed to come from the top all the way down in the front there and tie into Wallerman on the bottom side of that, across properties. So that never happened, so they kind of got in the middle of the hole. So they've been there.
Sanders is on septic tanks then too?
Yes. Wow. Yeah, so that would also give us an avenue, in the future. And that was one of the things that when we talked about the development on the lower end, that was also something kind of tasted. So you'd basically have a road that would actually go all the way through. That was the plan originally. It just never finalized or got the funding, So that's why that's on this list. So I believe I'm to the next. Parks and Recreation. Go provide active and safe recreational opportunities. We've been working with the development team, Linda, and looking to put outdoor exercise equipment. You've heard that before in presentations. So we've got current budgets and some goals already set. Actually got the site picked. So we'll be continue to work on that, and hopefully once we start working with our CDBG project and possible upgrades in that area, that's all gonna come together between the ADA, the sidewalks, and that exercise equipment. Next, of course, I have the CDBG request. Travis has been working, actually made some phone calls, prior employer, so he's gonna keep us in line where we need to be with the CDBG process. So we have a water bottle filling station that's actually funded as well. We've kind of determined already some preliminary spots, so it's just a matter of trying to get all our ducks in a row to make that happen for downtown area. I just want to work on that only specific because I don't want to put stuff in place just like with their lighting until we have our downtown sidewalk in progress, and that might be one of the starting points that we go from there, because they're going to be throughout downtown Globe and possibly in this park area. So I don't want to put something in and tear it out, a few weeks later. It's just not good business. It doesn't look good for us either. Concession stand, we're still working on partnerships for the funding. Concession stand, that would be around the pool area. Beshbagawa Revitalization Phase 1 in progress. There was a site visit today with the Motley crew. They're actually the designers, so they're working on that right now, and I think there'll probably be a future presentation. Linda or Connie possibly to share where we're up and probably an update on that process. Good job, Dan. Capital replacement plan, go to inform council of unfunded vehicle and equipment needs. As you all know, what you'll see with all CIP requests, we have, not only do we have an aging infrastructure, we have an aging fleet. So those are always, those aren't gonna be new requests to you. One of the main items that we have, for proposed is our jetter truck. We lost our jetter truck due to, unfortunate incident. So we've received a payment through the insurance for that. So we're hoping to put that towards our jetter truck purchase or lease, if approved. They're not cheap, but it is a prime piece of equipment that going forward with our infrastructure, part of this process, when we're talking about the infrastructure, we're jetting and cleaning. If we had that jetter truck, that would reduce a lot of the costs. The cost for making an emergency phone call to a vendor that has a jetter truck it gets pretty expensive. So that's why we're looking to possibly replace this and bring this back into our system. So there's other future CIP proposed.
Mr. Mayor, and hang on, John, Mr. Mayor, members of council. In our work group, we had this discussion. One of my goals, we're establishing our fund balances and we have audits coming up. Audit will be starting next week for the first one. And we have to be careful about starting up new projects. We have plenty to work on now, but the other thing is we don't want to be so crippled that we are going backwards. By not having this jetter truck, we're ending up going backwards. It's costing us $3,000 to $5,000 is I think what you said every time we call it out. We don't call it out every time, and so we're putting back some needed maintenance that could bite us later on. And so in going over this list, we went through this with Tina Allen, our budget manager, and we think we're going to be able to fund this year coming fully out of the wastewater fund balance. Right now we're projected about 1.2 million. We have 100,000 sitting in the bank already for insurance. The truck, a stripped down truck is about 600,000. And so if we can fund that $500,000, I think it's one of those things that we really need to look at, because we're just gonna rack up the fees with other people making their truck payments off of our funds. And so it's something that we got kind of, a green light, something that was a positive thought. This would be the biggest, probably single fund balance purchase this year that we would ask for, but only because we need to get a jetter truck back on track running and taking care of business. So, John, what exactly does a jetter truck do?
So the jetter truck has multiple uses. A lot of times when we may be, of course, when sewer line backs up, there's a 500-foot reel that you see right in the front, and actually it's mechanical. The guys will go out there. They have different various types of tips for different types of pipes or what you're dealing with, and it's pressurized. You control everything from the front. You can pressurize it, and basically, we've had some recent issues where we do call out a jetter truck. And it's major. It's not like it's a hybrid snake, with your residents, you got this little handheld. We have some little mechanical snakes we do, but it's got 500 feet of hose. So in some of these areas off of hillsides and stuff where we've had backups, unfortunately the incident that took the jetter truck was from a hillside that we cannot reach. So when you can actually extend that hose so far out, you just feed it into there. You fire up, you pressure it up, and actually takes the break. It can break that up. But there's also tips on there that it'll actually, with the pressure, it'll cut the roots which we have a lot of mesquite roots and any kind of other roots that in the system. But when we're doing repairs around a manhole or we're servicing sewer lines, we can just park it up the road from on the sewer line, and we can take the manhole off and put that out, and it'll keep the, so we're not affecting the neighborhoods with sort of any sewer backup. It'll keep pumping the debris out of there while the guys are working. They'll plug off the line and they'll be doing a sewer replacement or a repair, and that actually will be taking that, the waste out of the area. Then once we get it, it has a water tank on it, so we can use it for multiple levels, even potholing. A lot of times too, when you see the crews out there, you see it a lot in the valley. Rather than destructing, years ago when we're potholing, we literally have to go out on the road, blue stake it, mark it out, and start digging it by hand. This truck with the equipment on there, it's strong enough that it actually would break the asphalt. You start shooting the water in there, and it's sucking all the dirt and rocks out of there, and we can locate lines that way. And it's really cost saving, time saving, and it's just a lot safer than the backhoe looking for a piece of, a sewer line. Because then a lot of times you break the line and you just created a problem when you're just trying to find a line. So.
Does it have camera capability also?
It actually does. We have cameras. That's kind of one of those things where there's bells and whistles. Where Paul says it's a stripped down version. Basically, we had them come out, of course, for demo. They brought the bells and whistles. It was a Cadillac of Jetter trucks. But then we told them, we need something compatible to what we had. So there is options for that. There's actually so much electronical stuff. So we definitely make sure that our staff's trained up for it and our drivers as well, because it does require a CDL driver. We have looked at other additional possible funding sources, like if it was through a WIFA program or such, because when we're doing our sewer assessment and clean out, the only problem is a lot of times too, you really have to allocate staffing and that specifically for that, and we're not currently in that position to do that, so that's why we're looking to the purchase.
So Mr. Mayor, members of council, both Pat Walker and Tina, and I believe Dennis also our finance team would all vote to do a purchase rather than a lease purchase. It's quicker, cleaner, less expensive, and come out of fund balance, and then rebuild that fund balance rather than doing it over a 5-year lease and paying the debt service on that. But we do plan to bring tighter numbers and what this would take when we come back for the final budget. Unless I hear otherwise, I think we can make this work.
And then last but not least, there's a couple other things that for future proposed, the greater front loader we currently are utilizing. That's from '94. It actually came when I started, basically. So, and we had an issue at the sewer plant where we waited 6 months for parts to fix another loader that we have. So they're just getting aged. That's the normal for, they've been really effective and done what we've needed them to do, but it's an aged fleet. Fleet replacement program, as I'm sure you'll be approached with others, it's just an ongoing thing we all look towards. Skid steer, there's some equipment that was utilized at the cemetery, just a request. And the sweeper, that's come before you prior. When we talk about preventive maintenance, part of, sweeping and maintenance is also that. I've always shared with people that in Globe, there's no rain or gutter system. So when it rains, everything ends up in the street. So it either takes a loader or it takes a sweeper. And usually we have both, or we're going to utilize both. So the sweeper itself is also a '94 that was purchased through lottery dollars. And actually, that's a piece of equipment I ran for 20-some years, so it's lasted, but it's getting to the age cycle.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, again, our commitment from staff is to, even if we can't afford it, and like I say, the key word there is future CIP proposed. These vehicles, we cannot afford this budget cycle, but that doesn't mean that council should not hear that these are on the list. These are things that we need. You will see items come back and back and back just because we're trying to get them nailed down. And again, this is a Public Works CIP highlights. Before you have the additional list of more, some of the finer points of projects that are needed and equipment that is needed we have before you. Didn't want to go through all of those, but but just let you know, many of those are carried forward from last year. The staff in all departments has made done with literally basically not a CIP this past year. But we've stitched it together and made sure we don't slip backwards. But I wanted to make our commitment to be transparent with council. These are the things that if we, in a perfect world, if we had the money, those are the things in front of you that Public Works would be asking for. And we'll hear from the other departments tonight too.
So last but not least, potential funding sources. We just kind of wanted to give you a goal, diversify funding opportunities to leverage city resources. There's just a list of the multiple funding sources that we work with or work towards reaching out. We'll work with the development team and Connie as far as grants. So I'm sure there's these are just the main major ones that we're actually hitting. We don't have HERF and half-cent excise listed, but we know that's for more operational and future projects for asphalt and road work. So I think up to the point that if you have any questions,
And Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this shows the diversity of how we chase money. We've done very good at that. Two things I would call out on that list. Development costs, well, three things: development costs, recovery fees. Again, making sure that we're not subsidizing project growth, pays for itself. Development impact fees, which is something that, again, getting prepared for the future, we need to get those in line. Development impact fees are making sure that even things as granular as a library and parks, when you come and put new members of the residents come and live here, that they help pay for improvements and increasing that capacity. And then other ways that we can recapture fees, the Arizona Water Company, the IGA, or with the sewer cutoff, so we can make sure that we can limit our losses. So we want to make sure that we're bringing in new revenue and also make sure that we're recovering funding that should be ours and not writing anything off or as little as possible.
question, Paul?
No, thank you so much. That's a lot of,
I just had one, sir.
a lot of detail.
The first, this is the first stab by a department head. There are things, constituency sometimes complain about various aspects of what we're doing here going into the future. Why do you have to have this added? Why do you have to put this in place? We can't afford this. Or you're charging fees to our contractors that are unnecessary. And yet, we're trying to pull this city into the future by using our rate structures, by using our ordinances, tightening up our ordinances. And this is part of the growing pains of trying to achieve a better future for the amenities that we want to achieve and deliver here. It's a cost of doing business. And I approach these reviews with that in mind. What's the best bang for the buck for the service that we want to deliver? And sometimes, like last year, we had to bite the bullet. And we may have to do that again. We hear various aspects, and I'm just going to point that out, Mr. Mayor. We have various entities telling us the sky is falling in revenue in Arizona, which I find very hard to believe considering that the tourist trade, the tourist dollar, are some of the highest rates of collection that we've ever seen. So I have that conundrum of don't spend much because we can't afford it at revenue that's not coming to us, or the bull in the china closet is making a move and we may lose some revenue. And yet we're charged with improving everything that we have in this city. We have hard decisions to make once again. But I caution outside entities, we will do what we have to do to make this city the best that we can make it in this time. And we have a lot of partners out there that we're using. And that last slide, we have a lot of partners that we have started the ball rolling, and they're coming to us and offering help grant-wise and in other forms of funding that we can tap. And I'm optimistic that they'll continue to do that because our performance, our delivery of our services here is improving, is growing, and it's being accomplished. So I tend to take the high road and think, well, we'll find a way to get it. We'll find a way to fund it, and we must make those best choices. But I don't like other entities trying to hold us accountable or warn us or make us fear the future. I refuse to do that. We have some wonderful projects, wonderful amenities that we have already achieved. And in the infrastructure area, we have fantastic tapping of resources that we didn't have 3 years ago. So if you tell me that's going away, not yet, not yet. We're not done yet. Watch us grow. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, I think as we go forward, and I think just building on to that is, it's all about, we aren't gonna do things like we have in the past with property taxes and state shared revenues. Unless we grow population, that's not gonna grow. But I think all our departments need to understand it starts with economic development and attracting business. Increasing our sales tax revenue is the only way we're gonna be able to build a stronger future. And that's with marketing, that's with economic development, that's with tourism, people from the outside bringing money also. That's what it takes, and I think that's what this council's vision was in 2016, 2018, when we decided to move forward with that vision and that plan. And we're seeing that coming to fruition. So I think, that's what it's about. We gotta increase our sales tax revenue, and that's all there is. That's how we're gonna survive and build stronger on it. I just wanna commend you on a very informative and professional presentation.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it, and thank you and your staff for all the work they did with it. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
So next in our CIP presentations, we're gonna, Danny, if you wanna flip to the smaller, shorter presentation. No, and Mr. Mayor, that was so important, that, when we sit down and try to figure out how do we put this together so that we can deliver this to you, there's so much going on, and I think we found the right way to do that. So, I'm gonna call up, if you hit the first slide, who's running this thing? So this would be 24-25 CIP request. Well, Gary's coming forward on this. What I wanted to explain, again, nothing on this presentation has been included in the budget yet, okay? We're still working the finer ends of the budget. Tina's watching now. I'm sure I sent this to her just a little while ago. These are possible add-ons that we're gonna try to figure out where to put these and how to build these in. Again, my goal, we may not be able to add on to things, but we don't want to slip backwards. But it's, again, important for you to see everything that the departments are asking for, so that what's there, and if you see it, if we don't do it this year, you may see it again. Nothing has been funded and nothing will be added, taken from the fund balance without specifically bringing this forward to council and saying, these are what we want to take fund balance for, and here are the subtractions from the fund balance, the impact that we're, like say, we're gonna, at some point, we will have that fund balance and what will hit that fund balance. And so on that, Gary, if you want to go ahead, I pulled this off of the list you submitted. And if you want to just kind of identify the importance of these, and Gary has some grant opportunities. It's about 2 slides past this, but this is for a fire.
Mr. Mayor, council members, good evening. Going through the list that we have up there, one of the things that we've identified is fall and escape harnesses. We've had this on our list, but we've also been trying to find the right solution for our firefighters as we continue to see development in buildings that are taller, with need for working at higher stories on ground ladders, and that we've identified the need to have this for our personnel. This is a priority need. as, you know, as we've gone through in the past, and Mayor Gameros can remember, some of the things we taught when working on ladders and stuff to secure yourself are becoming no longer accepted practices. They're cracking down a little bit on what's required. The items we've identified for this would not only provide the firefighters with a harness, it also provided with a way to clip into ladders to secure themselves, as well as in the event that if they were doing a search on an upper floor and needed to go out a window, they have a quick way to do so and escape and get down. The other one of the things you'll see on there, one of the themes you'll see is the move to transition some of our tools away from gas powered tools into electric. This has become a big trend. As tools have evolved, they've gotten better. Our extrication tools now, we operate it with battery operated tools. It gives us a lot more flexibility. They're easier to store on the trucks. One of the big things we're trying to get away from is there's a lot of maintenance costs and fuel storage issues related to gas powered tools. If we can keep those auxiliary cans off the trucks, it's helpful. We don't have to worry about fuel contamination with other equipment and stuff as we do that. So one of the things we're looking to do is our chainsaws and circular saws to replace those with battery operated saws. Those have become, we actually had the opportunity at a conference here recently to do some forcible entry skill work with battery tools to get a better idea of how effective they were. We also attended a conference in Phoenix where we had the opportunity to see battery operated chainsaws and how effective they can be. Most of the work we do with those type of equipment are short duration, high intensity tasks that battery operated tools are effective at doing. That includes one of the things we do in order to get smoke out of buildings, we use vent fans. Those vent fans, a battery operated vent fan takes up about 2/3, if not less, of the space required for a gas powered fan, and about half again is what a normal electric fan takes to put on a truck. One of the things that being in a rural community we find is we have to put a lot of equipment on the trucks because we don't have trucks that specialize in certain tasks. So saving space, saving weight, making the operation of those easier, and the maintenance costs less makes it more efficient for our personnel. As always, we look to, as we go along, replace equipment that, every year as we go through hose testing, we'll find hose and stuff that is failing the testing process, as with anything does with age. So we have on there as a needed item as we go through and look and complete hose testing. If there's a need to replace a complement of hose, we budgeted to have that in place to be able to do that. The grant opportunities that Paul mentioned, both these grant opportunities we have submitted grants for. We work through the grants team to look at those, evaluate those, write those grants up. That's for another complement of battery operated extrication tools to make sure we have the tools on hand that are needed in the event that we have to remove somebody from vehicles, from machinery. We'll have the complements of tools that we need to be able to accomplish that. The other one is a forcible entry door prop. This is one of the tools we had, or one of the things we had an opportunity to work with at FDIC and spend about 2 hours going through. One of the primary skills that we have as firefighters is to be able to gain entry into buildings when they're secured, whether that be by bars, whether that be commercial buildings, residential buildings. How can you defeat doors? How can you defeat locks to be able to gain access? What this tool does is it gives you a whole different a whole gamut of opportunities to go through, whether it's inward swinging doors, outward swinging doors, to be able to learn how to gain access quickly, efficiently, and be able to get personnel into a building in a quick fashion. One of the major ones that we're looking at as we always go along and in our efforts to reduce the firefighters' exposure to carcinogens, one of the biggest carcinogens we face is diesel exhaust. The current station does not provide any type of exhaust removal as part of the station. So in looking at this, there's a number of solutions that are out there for doing that, whether it's mounted in the station to cover specific trucks, whether it's mounted in the station to cover a general area, whether it's mounted on the vehicle to capture that. There's numerous solutions that are out there. We're looking to evaluate and select and hopefully at some point in the near future fund a project that would do that. You know, my current thinking is that vehicle mounted solutions make the most sense for the facility we're currently in, just because they, you know, the space, some of the space requirements for that type of equipment, some of the layout of the current facility would make, I think, any type of facility mounted system a challenge to install and to operate efficiently. There's some vehicle mounted ones out there with the new diesel systems. They're a little bit more efficient than they previously were. So that's one of the, for us, that's always a high priority. Anytime we're dealing with the health and safety of our personnel, that is a high priority. We continue to look for solutions to try and keep turnout gear clean and you know, as we sit currently, that turnout gear has to be stored in proximity to those trucks and is exposed to the diesel exhaust as well. The last thing I had on my list again is continuation of the project to fund a ladder truck. I can tell you our current situation is, you know, our ladder truck has been down for a significant amount of time. Parts are our biggest challenge. It seems like when we find parts, we find bits and pieces of parts that our vendors are reaching out to anybody and everybody they can try and get in touch with. Currently, we're waiting on a pump related to some hydraulic equipment that, you know, they're having a significant challenge in finding that. You know, being a 30-year-old apparatus, you know, it's not an easy task. So, you know, we're waiting. I get updates about twice a week from our fleet maintenance provider, and so far the news hasn't been great.
How long's that truck been down?
About 5.5 months.
Really?
Yep. You know, thankfully we've had, you know, there's still one in the area that's been operational. It doesn't have the capacity, it doesn't have the capabilities that our current one does. But, you know, it is not as we try to keep that maintained, keep it operational, you know, it's proving to be challenging. And this is one of the things that I've brought up in past things. You know, this is we've kind of hit that scenario where, you know, that worst case scenario where it's become such a challenge to find it that, you know, they're reaching out to anybody and everybody to see what's out there. So as we go through and look, you know, I know there's been some discussions on some partnerships and that and stuff, and the other reality that we face is no matter what decision is made, no matter what, you know, if if today we chose to fund that right off the bat, you know, we're probably in the neighborhood of a year and 8 months to a little over 2 years out for a piece of equipment. Because the demand, the build times, the builders of these apparatus are facing the same challenges in their parts suppliers getting parts for new stuff, let alone for a 30-year-old piece of equipment.
Chief, are there lease purchase or lease purchase opportunities out there?
There always are. There's financial institutions that work regularly with government providers to do that. I mean, that is always that's always an available option when it comes to those things. But again, you know, our time frames are long, but I don't have great news when it comes to the part situation, and even if we do get it back, you know, we still face the same dilemma in that if there is a failure, you know, we're right back in the same boat of that challenge to find parts.
Yeah, that's definitely a dilemma. You know, if we had $2.3 million right now, you're still almost 2 years out.
Yep.
But something to look at is the partnerships, you know, it's not only gonna benefit us. We have, mining companies in the area that's industrial that need that type of equipment too, so.
Correct.
You know, it's something maybe to look at, partnerships.
And we are, Chief Granger and I are having some discussions, working on some additional conversations and feedback with some of the mines to see what is available and what they're agreeable to help in the neighborhood of funding in return for some services that we would be able to provide. So,
Mr. Mayor, members of council, we'll see if we can put together just kind of some avenues. I don't know if we have hard options, but, you know, and see, there's multiple things we can pursue and kind of at least give you a little bit more detail as to the pros and cons of each path, the timelines, the possibilities. There's a number of things that I don't want to start throwing things out, but I think as we come back around before the final passage, at least so we have, you know, something of knowing what options we will pursue and or, you know, may want to focus on. Okay.
It's not just the city of Globe that needs that ladder truck, it's a community that needs a dependable working ladder truck, it's not just the
The
city.
community can help.
and I believe that is all of mine.
So, Gary, thank you. And now we're moving.
One question, Chief, on your turnouts, anything with PFAS on issues on our turnouts, is that something we're gonna have to look at?
It is something that we're gonna have to look at as we go forward. Currently, there is not any guidance that has been released on it, but my anticipation is that is a very hot topic when it comes to all of the different fire service leadership organizations is lobbying, you know, not only for new technologies to replace that type of gear, but also for funding sources to meet the demand. Because, you know, the reality of it is just about everybody across the country is in the same boat that we are, in terms of their equipment having some level of PFAS within that gear because of the nature of the materials that are used for thermal resistance and that. There's a lot of just about anything you look at anymore that becomes a topic of conversation on how we deal with it. So
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, so Gary, you're saying that the turnouts as manufactured up until now, today's standards have PFAS in them. And so is there new technology? Have they developed new standards? Are they producing?
There are one or two manufacturers that are starting to produce gear that's PFAS free, or that's supposed to be PFAS free. That, you know, that's not a high, you know, it's not a high number right now.
So if everybody was to all of a sudden go out and try to buy a set of turnouts nationwide, there's not even the supply there right now.
There's a limited supply.
Yeah.
There's a limited supply to do that, to be able to do that. You know, as it sits right now, we you know, our guidance is to our personnel and our staff is to make sure that, you know, they're in that gear as little as possible. You know, at a scene, as soon as they're done and they're out and they're, you know, they're cleaning up and rehabbing, you know, we want them out of as much of that gear as we can get them. Not only for the PFAS related stuff, but for everything else, for all the other contaminants that go along with that. Immediately after a fire, you know, for pretty much all of our gear gets bagged up and sent off and decontaminated. You know, we're trying to make every effort we can to ensure, number one, that our gear lasts, but also that till we can replace it, but also that you know, it's clean, it's ready, it's in service. That's one of the things that I mentioned with that's a concern for us currently with how our turnouts are stored in the apparatus bay is, you know, that exposure to the diesel exhausts. You know, that's something we're trying to find a dependable solution to, but it's, you know, we're limited on space. So.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
So, Mayor, Members of Council, Chuck, if you can just go through, there's, I think, you saw the presentation, I think 2 or 3 slides is all on here. So, and so do you want to, if you want to start, go ahead.
Sure. My list is pretty short. I'm thinking about adding to it.
No, this has been submitted and accepted.
So some of the needs for the police department that don't fit anywhere else in the budget are some items that we could use for more realistic training. And the first one's the force on force training equipment that is airsoft weapons to replicate the weapon systems that we deploy. This gives it a more realistic feel for the different trainings we do throughout the year. We try to do a couple of different active shooter type trainings during the course of the year and keep that ongoing. And so this has been a need that we've looked at for several years now, and it's been added in. The next one, we're looking at implementing a drone program. It's kind of the wave of the future. We've dealt with other law enforcement agencies that have came and assisted us in different scenarios that we've had that have used drones. It makes it quite a bit safer for different tactical advantages that we would want to see when it comes to the different calls that we're on. DPS we use quite frequently for using a drone to diagram accident scenes and that kind of thing. And then we use them, we've used most recently, San Carlos PD has came out and assisted us with missing persons type calls. And anytime we're searching for somebody and we have a large area, a rugged area, we've been able to utilize the drones for that purpose. And so we would like to implement one at some point. And there's different things that we'll look at as far as maybe grant funding and things like that, but we're adding it into the CIP budget at this time.
And then, Mr. Mayor, members of council, so, Chuck, that, Dale had said that this would be, compatible with doing other type things like, you know, surveying dams for public works or counting attendees at First Friday. And you would be able to share that technology.
Yeah, there's a multitude of different uses that we can get out of the drone.
Okay, so this would be not just, like say, it'd be a PD drone, but, and, you know, something we could use in a number of things. We'd be surprised what we can probably use it for. Oh, and you have the clicker.
Okay.
Just make sure it goes the right way. And there you go.
Defensive tactics equipment, we have a couple in-house, DT instructors. And so we're able to host our own, defensive tactics trainings 2 or 3 times a year. We want to provide the proper equipment to do those trainings so that everybody is safe. So we're looking at, the instructor, what they call a red man suit, just the padding that goes along with the training. And then the student red man suit, which is a little less expensive, not as much of the padding for that. We have a need for the storage connexes that we have over at our evidence and property room. We typically have more items coming into the property room than we have going out. And so if things start stacking up, we start running out of room. So we want to add another connex over there, so that we can keep, really we're out of storage in the PD itself. So if we can have a different connex to where we can store some of our police equipment and then have one of them dedicated to evidence that just doesn't quite fit anywhere else, we would like to add that.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, that would have to be cleared by planning and zoning before we place a connex in certain areas. But that's their request at this point. And the only other thing I want to say is the training is so important for just so that we have good policies, procedures, and our staff is fully aware. But it also, those training records are helpful when we get into people trying to make accusations that we've made mistakes or that we've done something wrong. And not only do we have the facts on our side, but we also have these documents that show that our staff is fully trained in pretty much any situation, and it helps in defending against accusations and lawsuits. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And then one of our big needs that we've been trying to get accomplished over the last couple of years is our impound lot up at the Public Works facility. We talked to John about extending that and implementing some additional equipment up there to make it a little bit more secure, with better lighting, more surveillance equipment up in that area, so that we have more room basically, and it's a little bit easier to access for our personnel whenever we need to impound a vehicle. And again, just like the property and evidence room, we typically have more vehicles coming in than we have going out. So that creates a problem with space available, because we can only release things as the county attorney's office allows us to do that. So we just need more room up there for that. And then finally, we always have the need for additional patrol vehicles. We're still running a number of vehicles that are aging and probably close to retirement. And so what we came up with several years ago was a method to replace those. And for various reasons, we haven't been able to do that, and part of that's been supply. After COVID, it was difficult to get a hold of vehicles. I think last year Ford had canceled vehicles on us. And so we had to go a different route, but we always have the need for vehicles, in what we do, so that's been added in there as well.
Chuck, are you still under a lease program, the police department, with
We
our
are.
patrol cars?
With Enterprise, yes.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, that it is, I don't see currently, with everything I know about the budget right now, I don't see a pathway to funding vehicles this year, for patrol vehicles. Both the money it takes, again, lease versus buy, and then the third thing is our lease program. We need to get caught up on our audits to keep up with our ability to lease. So I think both Chuck and Dale are knowing that likely is not going to happen this year. But again, to commitment to, so that you know what they need, what each department needs. We want to present this, and then you've given up on the Explorers and you're going for 150s, and
Correct.
not Tahoes, but the 150s.
Yeah, the F-150s are a little bit more reasonably priced, and
Maintenance is better, right?
maintenance is better, and yeah, the Explorers haven't been the greatest on mechanical issues, so.
It's like I say, we're hard on vehicles, not just because they're they're police vehicles, and B, it's Globe. And so I think the F-150s, although they're, the maneuvering in the parking lot is difficult, once they get out there, they can handle what they need to handle to do their job and support our staff.
All right.
So I think
Any questions? No. Chuck, have you guys utilized Ebola wraps at all? Or did we ever purchase any?
We did, we purchased probably 8 of them, and they're deployed in patrol vehicles. I know that I think we've had a couple deployments with them.
Cause so the risk pool is still covering 50% of those costs, huh?
Oh, are they?
Yeah, whatever you buy, risk pool is supposed to cover 50% of the costs. You just have to file reimbursement for them.
We'll have to look at getting more.
So, and one good piece of news on PD is the DEMA grant, the $330,000 DEMA grant finally came through. And so that's something we're gonna be incorporating into the budget and making sure that will help out on some of this stuff. But it's very tailored to certain costs, and so it's not the end all be all, but 300,000 helps, so, over 2 years. So, Chuck, if you wanna hit the presentation for one more slide. I got the lightning round here. There it is. And I'm just gonna try to finish this off.
Thank you, sir.
Library, the only.
Thanks, Chuck.
The only CIP request, completion of the patio. We need to move the patio about 3 foot out from where it was at. We switched from a metal structure to a wood structure to a metal structure, and there's some additional costs that have come in. And we had pledged that if the cost increased, city would pick that up. So we're gonna need additional concrete and some fencing. And then to finish that off, that one's already been started, so that we'll have to fund that, but I think we can fund that. Just like to find looking to see if we can find some life cycle replacement, look at network equipment. We've, knock on wood, I'm not gonna say anything to jinx us, but we've been very stable in our IT. I'll leave it at that. So, thanks to Danny on that too. And then development services, Citizen Serve is a permit tracking software. There's a lot going on. It's expensive. Linda, did you want to take 2 seconds and kind of talk about that one? And then, while we're waiting for Linda, Active Adult, I was talking to her. This is Tammy at Active Adult Center. and she's like, I was talking to my friends, and I think it was Pinell Gila, I'm not sure, one of the people that fund Active Adult, and they're like, you know, it's like, well, you know, what do you need? What do you need? It's like, well, you know, and she hemmed and hawed and talked about a 9-seat van, and then voila, they've come up with they're purchasing a 9-seat van for Active Adult to replace one we have, a donation. And I didn't get a hold of her in time as we put this together. My understanding is that one's in the tank and gonna be coming to us, so that'll be very helpful. So that's about I don't even know the cost on that, but brand new, so. But Linda's
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Okay, super fast. Currently, we use GovPilot, and we've used them for the past 4 years, and it's done its job. Now that our department has expanded, we're processing more, we're working more closely with fire, with public works, also with recreational reservations. This is a tool that not just serves development, but it serves many departments across the board. And so we've taken the past year to really do our homework and what we need now and what we can grow with into the future. And we've found that Citizen Serve is the product that we think will meet our current and future needs. And this is a platform that other communities in Arizona have utilized. The one that we have now has some bugs, and we've worked through most of them, but we're to the point where it's not the tool that can help us be the most efficient and serve our public in the best way. And so we would love to have Citizen Serve in the future. It's really having an extra staff person with us to help expedite all the process and to be able to funnel applications between departments and, again, just expedite processing.
So this would be a heavy lift to find funding for that. It'd be it's a one-time purchase and there's some ongoing, but it would be replace the cost of the other project. But it's a steep entry price. It's important, but I don't unless something really unique happens, I don't see that making the cross finish line. But we're going to talk some more.
An annual cost on service? Does that have to be an annual cost for service like other
It
programs?
is. It's similar to what we pay right now with GovPilot.
So that'd be a wash.
Yeah, that part would be. It's the onboarding process and getting set up with all of our departments, all the different portals and users. And actually, it's unlimited users. So if we grow as staff or we utilize someone like Wildan, so that they would also have access to this resource.
But I will add that communication to the public and timely paperwork and making sure that we're clear and documented is very important, and it's hard to say no to that. But
we began using software with code enforcement, and then we tapped a little bit into the building side, the building permit, and it was very one-dimensional. And so then we took the next step into GovPilot, and again we were shopping on a budget, very slim budget, and really there are other products out there that are much more than this, but this is a product again that we've talked to other communities in Arizona. This is a product that we can grow with, so that if we find that we need to add modules later on, then we can. But this is the best product that we have found, and we've taken nearly a year to do the research.
But this is not a sexy project or product that is grants don't, computer software and cemeteries just don't fly well in the grant world. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you for allowing your staff to come forward and share with you the things that they need and they would like to add and to do their job. I wish we could fund everything that we have. We can't, but you as a council need to know what they're asking for, and then help make those decisions. One of the prime things you do is help set the budget. And so you have this documentation, you have the paperwork. As we go through in our next two meetings, we'll see what we can bring forward and whittle this down, and then and just see how close we can get. But, and staff is so good, departments heads are so good, they realize there's, there are situations and there's not unlimited funds, and so they will make things work. Tools wise, if we have it, it'd be better if we can, but they will make it work. Although some of these are very important. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, unless there's any more questions, that concludes our presentation.
Ready, go ahead.
Just a question on some of the last two presentations, fire and police. Were we gonna get a hard copy of that?
No, but I can, we can quickly
At
make
least
a hard copy.
at least the PowerPoints.
Yeah, don't give,
I mean,
Yeah.
we have, unless I'm missing something, but I got Public Works.
Yeah, we got.
yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We will get you a copy
We
of
wanna
that.
be fair and equitable, right?
I just want to reinforce again what I said earlier, is, I want to thank our staff, you guys are the boots on the ground. There's some of the staff here, your supervisors are here also. This council is committed to taking control of our city's destiny, and we're working hard and doing the extra to make sure that happens, and it all comes back to increasing our revenue in order to make things happen. That's where it all starts. But we're also asking you to, in the process, to step up your game too, because you guys are the boots on the ground. I know we're asking a lot, but it's important that we all buy into all this vision and the plan for our future of our city, because you are important. You guys are the working parts of it. So we thank you for that.
That's right. If I may?
Go ahead, Freddie.
Yeah, I just want to echo that same sentiment that, you do a lot of work, you bring forth a lot of your needs, and things that would make your job and the city's progress going forward. Obviously, we don't have a super large budget. I wish we had it, but we're working towards increasing that budget and increasing the revenues. My only ask would be that, in consideration of these projects, that the thought process is based on needs, as opposed to wants. Like, what do you really need? Because when we start throwing in the wants, then obviously that budget will just get blown out of the water. So I'm not saying that none of these are not needed, but I would just ask that when we're asked to consider these things, that we're looking at needs first, and then we can go into the wants after that. But great presentations. You're making a case for your department. You're making a case for the things that you're saying you need, and we're going to do our best to try and meet those, and still stay within budget. That's our responsibility. Anybody, a mayor and council that sits up on this dais, is that we're the stewards of the city's purse, and we've got to find that balance where we can accommodate the things, the equipment, the tools that all of our departments need to function and provide the best service possible, and still maintain a healthy, balanced budget that we can continue to move forward on. I think about the ladder truck. I mean, $2.3 million. I mean, that's just one unit. Now, it's a big unit, right? But I really appreciate you just bringing this to light. We sit here and I get overwhelmed just listening to all your presentations. It's just so overwhelming. But that's not a bad thing, because if we were brought forth, well, we really don't need nothing, we don't need this, we don't need that, you know, we can survive, I'm doing fine. Well, then that would draw a red flag for me. That, you know, are we really looking out for the best interests of our community? So I appreciate all your work. I don't want to talk in circles, but, you know, I go through budgets. Matter of fact, I'm going through my own next week, so I get where you're at. And so I appreciate all your efforts, all your work, and I hope that we can accommodate some of your requests. I really do. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Fred. So move on to consent calendar, and matters listed in the consent calendar considered be routine and will be enacted by one motion, one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk. Prior to consideration of the consent agenda, the mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to move a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council and or staff may remove any item for separate consideration. We have item A, consideration of waiver of section 2-4-10A. Prior discussion rule to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. We have one, accounts payable, $779,611.21. Item C is consideration to approve the spring bed tax distribution request for the Globe Miami Regional Chamber of Commerce for the third and fourth quarter fiscal year 2023-2024 in the amount of $20,323.58 funded from account number 10-51-51900 General Fund Community Organizations, Globe Miami Regional Chamber of Commerce. Do we have anybody from the public, the staff, or council wanting to remove any of these for separate consideration?
Yep. Mr. Mayor, if there's no other comments or questions, I motion that we approve the consent agenda as read. Did we remove item B from that because we had already?
Yes, I didn't read that one.
Okay,
It
very
was
good.
read over.
So then I'll motion that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second?
Motion is second for approval of the consent agenda is read. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passed. We go to number 6, new business. A, consideration to approve the corporate wellness screening program agreement number PS-2025-0080 between Lifeline Screening America Ltd. and the City of Globe to be funded in the amount of $10,000 to the City of Globe Wellness Fund balance, and approve the city manager to sign approval with the city attorney.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, as you saw in some of the earlier presentations, two initiatives that we're taking, we're going forward with staff is the allowing both MRIs, screening MRIs for certain major organ function that we're going to fund out of the two funds, the wellness fund and then what's the other one? The retention fund. And Pam currently has a survey out, and we're getting lots of feedback of how many people are gonna be wanting to take advantage of that. The MRIs are per request and per compensation. The employees don't have to pay out of their pocket and get reimbursed. They go down, make an appointment, and then we pay the bill, about $800 roughly. The other one that we have here is this the Lifeline screening, which is the cardiovascular ultrasound, where they check the flow of your I'm no doctor, but they can tell whether you have issues with circulation that would lead to major cardiac problems. And so what they do is they do one sitting, they come up to Globe, take over, and in this case probably the Active Adult Center, the dining room there, and put all these stations together, and then we'll have one day like a health fair and schedule everybody who wants to do that. This is the contract for the first one, is minimum of 25 people, $10,000. I'm gonna ask Pam, can more than 25 people? Okay, and so Pam's here, Pam's been working this and knows much more about this, so if you have any questions, but this is the contract. Bill's still looking over it, he's gonna, and so if you approve this, we can get started with scheduling this about 120 days out. It's a little bit of lead time. It'll happen this fall. but, and then approve me to sign it once Bill says okay. So, questions about either the finances on this or on the ultrasound and how we're gonna involve employees?
I have a question, yes. Thank you, Mayor. So we're going to take action tonight based on attorney's review,
Right, correct,
correct?
and, correct.
So this is a waiver.
Waive the rule?
Are we?
It's 120 days out, you said.
Well, yeah, once we get the contract in, and we can go ahead and just return it to the second meeting, if you like. I don't even think we, you know, it's just a matter of as soon as we get the contract in, we can get it going, but I'd be happy to, bring it back on the 25th.
It's not gonna change the timelines or the process.
Anything you can think of, Pam, that would
I
hold?
mean,
us
we
up?
I don't wanna,
Hold it up.
you know, I don't wanna kill it, but,
No,
you know, if our attorney hasn't looked at it yet, I'm
Yeah.
a little skittish about
yeah,
approving it.
yeah, no, we're fine with that.
We good?
So it's just, we'd ask for a motion to move this forward to the next available meeting, possibly the 25th.
Thumbs up? You're the staff, I mean,
Yeah.
The
Pam, jump up there.
question was just coming up, the wellness, the funding wellness, is that, I guess I'm confused, the wellness, is that for, like, people reimbursement for gym fees, or is this another account?
Definitely a Pam question.
All right.
So,
Tell us.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm sorry, you were asking just if it
Yeah,
would
the
hold
funding,
up the
we have the
process?
wellness, I know that we draw from, we get from the Blue Cross Blue Shield for like reimbursement for gym fees. Is that the same
It is
account,
the
or is
same
it a
fund.
different account?
It's funded at $5,000 a year by Blue Cross Blue Shield, and
Yeah.
we currently have just slightly below 40,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So we get 5,000 every year, we've been getting that for the last.
yeah, I shouldn't say, we have about 34,000 now, and we'll get 5,000 again July 1st. So that's the fund that we're starting with. And then we do also have access to the retention funding, which is currently paying a portion of our Blue Cross Blue Shield monthly premium. We're getting part of that funded.
And what's that amount?
It's about 400,000 right now, is that correct?
yes.
Yeah.
And this is, and the reason we don't, one of the things we talked about this before and, dedicated the money, in the discussion on Blue Cross Blue Shield that we were gonna take, I can't remember the amounts, but we were doubling the, we're going from $20 to $30 for the gym reimbursement and then adding this in there. I don't remember the numbers, but but this will come from, the wellness fund. Now, for spouses and dependents, can we take from the wellness fund on this also? Or is that?
I don't think the wellness fund was an option, but the most recent communication we got from Siegel was that we could withdraw a portion of the retention funding and use it basically at will.
And that's one of the reasons we're doing the survey, to see how many people actually will take advantage of both this and the scan. So we have talked about this before, but there's no issue with waiting to let Bill get final say at this, then bring it back on the 25th.
Is it, do you have an indication of what his review is? Is it just minor language, or are we looking just completely redrawing up a contract?
No, he did an initial review and wanted some insurance documents from Lifeline, and they have provided that, but Bill went out of town and just didn't have, he hasn't completed that,
Okay, so
that
we're-
final review, but they're minor suggestions.
Okay, well, I feel better then. If it's things he's already working on, he's just waiting for documentation to come in.
Yes.
Okay.
Just one other question, you mentioned the $800 for the MRI, the circulation, cardiac, that testing, what's that cost, do we even know?
There were different levels from like $168 was the lowest level, which was just the 5 ultrasounds. And then there was additional blood work available, and there were 4 different levels of testing. One was $300, just below $300, and another one was $400, depending on how much testing they do. So at $400 a person, the $10,000 minimum is the equivalent of 25 tests, 25 people.
And then it's a 400 per additional person.
Exactly. It's not like we're capped at that 25, but that would meet the minimum for them to come on site. They have a minimum fee.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, these are the things that we talked about, you know, old fogies like myself, these kind of things happen in my daily repertoire of, you know, doctor visits, and the really young people won't take advantage, but those mid-level people who are just, you know, starting to realize that this type of this has had a really strong, a lot of people at the open enrollment. Your survey, you're getting results back, but email, hand carried, I know how many people do you think have responded already?
We've gotten about 45 surveys back, which is huge. Not all of them are interested in the scan. Like, a lot of the younger employees are marking that they're not interested, but the first wave was all the people that were like, yes, definitely interested. And we got a lot of surveys back.
And
So
they want to do both?
that's a lot of participation.
Is one winning over the other, or do they want to do both?
It's about the same.
Yeah.
The equivalent on both.
And Mayor, Pam and I were worried because, you know, when we had our health fair that we didn't have a lot of turnout, but this one strikes a chord with people that this is meaningful and beneficial to their work-family balance, and, you know, so, the MRIs, the fire is getting done mandatory, and we're offering that to all, other employee and dependents. And then this one is for everybody also, just to make sure that you don't got any narrowing there anywhere.
And there's a minimum 25, you said? Or
Well,
20?
there's a minimum fee of 10,000, and that's the equivalent of
Oh,
25
gotcha.
We think we're gonna hit
employees.
that
But
easy.
we have more than that interested already.
We were initially worried that we were gonna sign up for 25 and we'd have 12 turnout.
Right,
But I don't think that's gonna be the case.
not gonna happen.
Not with the overwhelming survey rate.
Okay.
So there is a lot of appreciation from the employees as they're returning the surveys too, and a lot of interest.
Good.
Any discounts, consideration Blue Cross Blue Shield, because we do this?
What's
Because
that?
of is there any type of, discount from Blue Cross Blue Shield, or
I
some
don't think so.
consideration on our premiums, you know? when-
Well, I don't think they're gonna reward us, but I think overall we'll have a much healthier, we're being proactive, employees are being proactive, and if you can catch something, I mean, I've talked to other city managers and people who have caught things at an earlier stage that would have been much more devastating, harder to recover from, and more expensive at the later stage. So this preventative stuff, is good practice and a smart way to take care of our number one asset, which are our
no doubt.
employees.
I would just like to add to that, even though they wouldn't give us a discount, the funding that's being provided is totally from Blue Cross Blue Shield. So they will be 100% funding it.
And that's why this isn't looped into it's in the budget, but it's restricted money, can only be used for certain things, and that's why we're going forward with this now, just so we can get this set up.
Yeah, it's a great plan.
Good.
Well, if there's no other comments or
Thank you,
questions,
Pam.
Thank you.
I will make a motion, and anticipating that our attorney will clean up whatever needs to be cleaned up. To approve the corporate wellness screening program agreement PS 2025-0080 between Lifeline Screening of America Limited and City of Globe to be funded in the amount of $10,000 through the cities of Globe Wellness Fund Balance, and approve the city manager to sign upon approval of the city attorney.
You're gonna waive the rules.
And I will waive the rule.
And We've actually talked about this at a public meeting before,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, so we're
yeah.
good?
So you don't
Okay.
really need to waive the
All right.
rules.
Okay.
No, because we
All
did, I recall now, I knew there was a reason, but
All right, second?
Motion second for approval of item 6A. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Action item 7A, discussion and consideration to approve change order number 1 with Sunrise Engineering for task order number 1, Jess Hayes Sidewalk Project Phase 1 in the amount of $10,736 to include lighting improvements. Additional funds for this project are budgeted from account number 21-80-52200, Jess Hayes Sidewalk Project. Luis.
Mr. Mayor, members for council, I'm here because the first time that we presented this project for the sidewalk, it was mentioned that if we could incorporate lighting in this one segment, it's segment number 1. It goes from Oil Circle Road to Ice Canyon, and the 3 segments are under design. Sunrise Engineering is the one working on segment 1, and the light is already being incorporated in the other segments. So this is just for the segment that Sunrise Engineering is working on. So they gave us this quote. It is $10,736, and we're getting close to have 60% plans to come back and present it, what we have, and see if there is anything else that you would like to incorporate or you have suggestions before we finish the design. And also, we're gonna have, as Paul was saying, an open house or a public hearing for people to be more knowledgeable what we're doing and listen to them, see if they have any other ideas that we can take into account.
Luis, is this 10,000, is that for the design of the lighting, or is that for
Design
the?
Design of the light.
That's just for design then, 10,000
Design,
to include the
I
design
I understand they had to talk to a consultant, that specializes in electrical work. So, yeah,
Okay.
it's just for the design.
Mr. Mayor? And Luis, that would be for all 3 phases?
Just phase 1.
Just for phase
Phase
1?
1.
So then we can anticipate additional design for phase 2 and 3?
Well, phase 2, there is already lighting there. It's the segment between Connie's and Oil Circle Road. There might be some additional lighting, but for the most part, there's lighting there. And the other segment going all the way to the skate park, that one, it's already, the lighting was already incorporated into the initial request for design.
So this would be the bulk of the entire project, this phase? As far as lighting?
Segment 1. It's we have three segments. 2 segments, is Rick Engineering, designing, and 1 segment is Sunrise Engineering.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're talking about segment 1.
Gotcha. Well, I think last time we talked about this, we were talking about putting lighting, correct?
Put adding lighting on there, yeah. Yep.
Well, I will make a motion to approve change order number 1 with Sunrise Engineering for task order 1, Just Hayes Sidewalk Project, phase 1, in the amount of $10,736 to include lighting improvements. Additional funds for this project are budgeted from account number 21-80-52200, Just Hayes Sidewalk Project.
Second?
So motion second for approval of item 7A. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Thank you, Luis.
Thank you, Luis.
Item B is discussion and consideration to issue an invitation for bid number CS 2025 0081 for the water meter replacement program to move forward with the advertisement. Funds for this project will come out of account 5080540005, grant funded capital outlay, and 5080514425, securing future water to be funded to the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority, submitted for reimbursement to the Water Conservation Grant GF 2480050031. Travis.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just keep this short and sweet. As you already know, we're already out to bid to purchase the AMI water meters, but this is for consideration to issue the invitation for bid to replace those water meters and do that investigation on the water lines itself. Of course, this will be reimbursable under the Water Conservation Grant as stated, and we're just trying to get this ahead of the game. Part of the bid package will have the actual meter that we select, but since we haven't selected that yet, we want to get ahead of the game. It's actually going to save us about a month and a half of time if we do this now versus waiting until we select that meter. We're getting the bid documents ready right now through legal, knowing the fact that we just need to plug in the water meter itself. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions?
I have one.
Go ahead, Fraser.
Are we anticipating that whether it's ourselves or a contractor that's gonna be replacing the meter, they'll also be doing the investigation on the pipelines upstream,
That'd be
downstream?
correct. It'd be the same, the one who's replacing is also doing the
It's all
investigation.
inclusive?
All inclusive.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm definitely for this project. Meters are cash registers, so.
Mr. Mayor, I've heard favorable comments and surprise comments from constituency. They had not heard this was about to happen, and so we need to publicize it. They're very surprised that this is going through, and I'm very, very pleased.
Good.
Can I make another motion?
I guess you're the one to know.
Sure, you're on a roll tonight. Go ahead, sir.
It's all you.
Yeah, I'll motion that we issue the invitation to bid number CS 2025-0081 for the water meter replacement program and move forward with the advertisement. Funds for this project will come from account number 50-80-54005, grant funded capital outlay, and 50-80-51425, secured future water to be submitted to the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority, submitted for reimbursement to the Water Conservation Grant, GF 24-80-5031.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item 7B. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you, Travis.
Late agenda items, item 8A, discussion and consideration of resolution number 1891, which would designate the City of Globe Manager Paul Jepton as the Chief Fiscal Officer on behalf of the City of Globe to submit the annual expenditure limitation report for FYE 2024 to the Auditor General, and consideration to waive section 2-4-10A prior discussion room. Paul. Oh, Shelley, can you read resolution 1891, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 1891, a resolution of the City of Globe, Arizona Mayor and Common Council designating the Chief Fiscal Officer for officially submitting the fiscal year 2024 expenditure limitation report to the Arizona Auditor General. Does council please with that reading?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, traditionally, this is the finance director takes on this responsibility. But since that position is open, it falls upon the city manager to take that responsibility. And I do that in consultation with both Shelley, Eric, and our finance team, primarily Pat Walker, and Dennis and Tina. So.
And this is for home rule then, is what we're talking about?
No.
No?
No, this is for our audit.
Just for, it's for the audit.
Yeah, and this is this designation is in the arrears, so we're doing some housekeeping tonight, and this is for the FY 2024.
Audit, okay.
so this
Okay.
is a little late.
But we were given a friendly reminder, and that's why we put it on late. And,
I know I got it.
no harm, no foul.
It's gotta be done.
Yep, process. Okay,
Anybody want this one?
We would also
got it,
ask, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we would like to also ask to waive the rule on the resolution.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to waive the rule and also recommend approval of the resolution number 1891 as presented.
Second.
motion second for approval of item 8A. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passed. 8B, discussion and consideration of resolution 1892, which would designate the City of Globe manager Paul Jepson as chief fiscal officer on behalf of the City of Globe to submit the annual expenditure limitation report for FYE 2025 to the Auditor General, consideration to waive section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule. Shelley, can you read resolution 1892?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 1892, a resolution of the City of Globe, Arizona Mayor and Common Council designating the Chief Fiscal Officer for officially submitting the fiscal year 2025 expenditure limitation report to the Arizona Auditor General.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, same reasoning, different year.
The good news with this report is we are 30 days early.
Oh, good.
Do the
That's
math.
good.
We're 15 days right after.
All right.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'd go ahead with the same waiver and recommend approval of this resolution number 1892 as stated.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item 8B. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passed. Item 9 is call to the public. Second call to the public. Do we have anybody online?
Let me look. I don't think anybody left awake.
Right?
No, nothing. We do have 9 people watching though.
Great.
That's great.
Good.
Good. Welcome.
Scheduling the meetings.
No additional scheduling.
Any work group reports?
The work group that met was infrastructure. Primarily, the discussion was the CIP presentation, and we covered that well.
Yeah.
Any future agenda items?
I have none.
Can't think of any.
Motion to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion second to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
And Mr. Mayor, when we return, there'll be no further action. When we return from executive session, we will just convene out. So, Danny, if you want to.
Thank you for attending.